Good evening from Atlanta. Before we begin our event coverage tonight, as you may be aware, there is breaking news regarding the bombing at Centennial Olympic Park, and we turn now to NBC Evening News anchor Tom Brokaw, who is here in Atlanta. Tom.
Bob, tonight FBI agents are interviewing the private security guard who first sounded the alarm about that suspicious package that turned out to be a bomb. His name is Richard Jewell. He's a 33-year-old former Georgia deputy sheriff who denies that he is the bomber, but high-level federal sources tell NBC News that for now, he is the focus of this investigation. The pipe bomb explosion early Saturday morning stunned Atlanta and killed 2 and injured more than 100. In the aftermath, the private security guard, Richard Jewell, who first sounded the alarm, was treated as a modest hero.
I was at the right place at the right time. I just got lucky. I had God with me that day. I was the night security guard for that area. I've been there ever since the Olympics, for several weeks before the Olympics started. But when you're in the security business or in law enforcement, you never, even when you're off duty, you never take your eye off what you're doing. We did not approach the bag. We did not touch the bag other than to look at it. At that point right there, we started moving some of the people that were literally sitting 5 feet from the package. Moments before the blast, I had gone up into the tower itself and floor by floor got every employee out of the building. When the bomb detonated, I looked in the direction of the blast, and some of my friends, some of the state troopers that had been standing right next to me were still flying through the air. We really got them off, tried to get them off the hill in an orderly and very quick manner. And if we hadn't, there would have been probably 150 people in the direct front of the blast when it went off. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time and did the job that I was trained to do.
Tonight, FBI agents went to Jewell's home in Atlanta, and he emerged to deny that he is the bomber.
Did you do it?
No, sir, I didn't do this.
NBC's Fred Francis has been working on this story all day long. Fred, what else do we know about Mr. Jewell tonight?
Well, NBC News has learned this evening, Tom, that he became a suspect not just because he had access and opportunity, but his last employer, Piedmont College, the president of that college, where Jewell worked for some 13 months until this May, the president of that college sent a fax to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation on Saturday when they saw that Mr. Jewell was the hero of this incident, expressing their concern to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation because of past employee incidents at the college. So that's one of the reasons he became a suspect. But also, Tom, if the FBI tonight had solid forensic evidence on Mr. Jewell, such as fingerprints or DNA matching, he'd be in jail right now. They do not, so they clearly are just using him as a suspect. They have not closed a circle on him just yet. And NBC News also has learned this evening that there is at least one witness who saw Mr. Jewell at 12:58 at the foot of the tower. 12:58 is the time that phone call, 911, was made to the Atlanta Police Department 911 service. So the circle is certainly not closed on Mr. Jewell tonight, Tom.
All right, thanks very much, Fred Francis, tonight, who has been working in this investigation. Bob, however, there are other suspects in this case, but they're in a general sense suspects. Mr. Jewell is the only suspect who has a name attached to that identification tonight.
Tom, it's interesting. With authorities considering him a suspect, they hadn't, as Fred put it, closed the circle on him yet, but nonetheless, he appeared on the Today Show, CNN, other places this morning. Was part of their thinking that he might, if only inadvertently, provide more evidence for them by going on these programs?
Well, one of the things that happens when he goes on those programs is that he leaves a voice ID behind because it's all recorded on tape. The 911 call was recorded on tape. Perhaps tonight they're matching them up. It's also worth remembering that I believe that they wouldn't have opened Centennial Park today if they didn't have a fairly good idea of who was responsible for this and whether or not it was a confined group of some kind.
Whether or not Mr. Jewell turns out to be the perpetrator here, it seemed fairly obvious in the aftermath of the bombing, and I believe you said this in the early morning hours as the coverage first began, that this was clearly not the work of master terrorists. As these things go, it was an unsophisticated bomb.
No, it was a very crude bomb, in fact, and that's helping investigators because they have a ton of evidence to work with. The knapsack, the pieces of the bomb, the 911 call. So we should have some kind of resolution of this before the week is out, I would think.
Tom, thanks very much. And of course, as developments warrant, we'll go back to Tom Brokaw and our other NBC News reporters. Next, we'll set up the night of competition ahead at the Olympic Games. We'll be back to do that after these words.
And now, Brooke Shields as you've never seen her before.
Doug Shane, darling, Doug Shane, thank you for all the joy.
Or we could just put her in a funny show after Seinfeld.
Thanks. Again? Oh, really? Oh, no.
The legendary Chalice of Malta has never come cheap. In 1238, it was captured by 10,000 Celts. In 1512, it took an entire armada. And in 1703, it took an arranged marriage to the daughter of Charles V, the older one. But luckily, if you want the golden Chalice of Malta, all you need is a golden card of Visa with extraordinary purchase power for extraordinary things. It's even mightier than the sword. Visa Gold fits everywhere you want to be.
Il force sur son genou gauche, c'est typique.
Qu'est-ce que tu dis?
On sait tous que tu es rentré dans un arbre l'autre soir.
Qui te l'a dit?
C'est déjà dans ta bio sur le réseau d'information olympique.
C'est IBM qui l'a mis au point?
Exactement. Ils ont aussi conçu un système pour l'entreprise de mon père.
Il est coiffeur pour chien, ton père, non?
Ah oui? Ah!
Imagine a world without limits, where anything is possible. AT&T believes communication can help make it happen. Because when people communicate, there's no limit to what they can do.
A world in which all people are closer together. Every 2 years, for a few glorious weeks, it becomes easier to imagine. International Paper is a proud sponsor of the Olympic Summer Games.
The Olympic spectrum. It's the Brazilian shooting machine who has more points than any other Olympian, Oscar Schmidt. Tonight, the Dream Team makes him something of a marked man. The Olympic spectrum. It's the former ski champ from Colorado who's still the queen of the hills, Julie Furtado, the cover girl for the new sport of mountain biking. The Olympic spectrum, it's China's tiny Fu Mingxia, the defending Olympic champion in platform, here seeking double gold. The Olympic spectrum, it's the shortstop with the surgeon's hands, Dr. Dot Richardson. Tonight, she and Team USA try to operate on China. And the Olympic spectrum is what you'll find at the Champions Gala, the power, guts, and grace of gymnastics. An encore performance tonight at the Centennial Olympic Games. So gymnastics concludes this evening with the Champions Gala. Among those taking part, two-time gold medalist here, winner on the balance beam last night, Shannon Miller, making her last Olympic appearance. Also ahead tonight, you'll get a taste of the Olympic kaleidoscope, including gymnastics. But As law enforcement officials appear closer to solving the case of the bombing at Centennial Olympic Park, we'd like to take you back to a ceremony held this morning in conjunction with the reopening of the park. Increased police presence, to be sure, bags checked, but thousands filled the 21-acre park. This reopening, important symbolically and emotionally for the city and for Olympic organizers. Centennial Olympic Park had become the crossroads of these games, and what you see here is indicative of the spirit in Atlanta and the determination to take back the park, families bringing their kids to play in the fountain shaped in the form of the Olympic rings. Among those who addressed the crowd this morning was former Martin Luther King aide and former Atlanta Mayor Andrew Young, who, along with Billy Payne, is credited with bringing the Olympics to this city.
We're here to proclaim a victory. We're here not to wallow in tragedy, but to celebrate a triumph of the human spirit.
As the games forged forward, the athletes here have quickly re-grabbed the stage. Last night in particular was a night of big stars seizing the moment. Here's a look. Age 19, not so young for a gymnast. How would it end for the most decorated woman in American gymnastics history? After the team gold, the first ever by U.S. women, there had been disappointment. Second in the all-around, challenging for the title, but then in the floor exercise, a flat performance with this critical mistake. Next, the first night of event finals, and a crash in the vault. 5 medals from Barcelona, 9 world championship medals. But how would she finish? Last night, balance beam, the most perilous apparatus, and in the final moments of her competitive gymnastics life, Shannon Miller was the best in the world. Years ago, at age 21, he was one of a dozen American hurdlers who were good, but not great. Then last year, he exploded out of anonymity. And last night, steamrolling hurdles like predecessor Roger Kingdom, the 2-time Olympic champion. Alan Johnson, in an Olympic record, was convincingly the best high hurdler in the world. I expect to do it, says Michael Johnson, with his impossible-to-miss gold shoes. I want you to know I can do it, says Michael Johnson, trying to become the first man to win the 200 and 400. And when you can win the final of the Olympic 400 meters by almost a full second, such confidence hardly seems misplaced. Michael Johnson, comfortable now, chasing history. And last night, once again, he wrote track history, 35 years old. Only made it into the finals on his last qualifying jump. This was his 3rd attempt on a pleasant July Atlanta night against the backdrop of thousands of flashbulbs. The ultimate big meet performer, saving his longest jump in years for the Olympic Games. 9 career golds, confirming that over time he's been the greatest track and field athlete ever. Some night last night, wasn't it? As we turn our attentions to tonight's events, we offer an Olympic mixture, including weightlifting. Russia's Andrei Chemerkin, among those bidding for the title World's Strongest Man. We'll be checking in on the U.S. softball team playing for the gold tonight. Also diving, women's springboard. China's Fuming Chow looking for double diving gold. And the Dream Team, which faces Brazil and all-time Olympic scoring leader Oscar Schmidt. Also later, gymnastics, the Champions Gala, a special event including many of the sport's biggest names. But just ahead, here it is, synchronized swimming. There's only a team event this time. The U.S. and Canada are the powers here. In Barcelona, however, there was a solo event, and Canada's Sylvie Frechette was among the gold medal contenders. Here's her story.
For me, the Olympics in Barcelona, that was not a dream. It was closer to a nightmare.
6 months before the Olympics, she had lost her grandfather, the man she referred to as her guardian angel. He had replaced the father she lost at age 3. Then, 3 days before heading to Barcelona, she lost the man she was going to marry. Her fiancé committed suicide.
I'm like a little girl. I'm very emotional, and I cry very easy. And I would have never thought that I would have been able to go through it, but I guess I did. So you learn a lot. It's the tough way, I guess. I would prefer to learn out of a positive way, but I've learned a lot out of me, and I don't see life the same way anymore.
The Olympics provided an immediate form of therapy, for a few weeks at least, a chance to lose herself, to escape impending despair.
The only thing I could tell is that I'm hurt, and it's hurting inside, and I was crying a lot. And the only thing I could see in front of me was called the Olympics. That was the only thing I could just grab on and believe in. So I thought, I have to go. I really have to go to the Olympics. There's no way that I've been training for those 18 years to sit back in a chair and cry watching somebody else swimming for me in Barcelona. No way, that's not like me.
The gold medal favorite in the solo event, Frechette was first after the opening round, but the marks after round 2 were delayed. A Brazilian judge had hit the wrong button on the computer, registering an 8.7 instead of a 9.7.
You could see from the 5 marks that it was a totally aberrational mark, especially for somebody as good as Sylvie Frechette. I mean, she just doesn't get 8.7 out of 10. I mean, that's how good she is.
Frechette pleaded with the judge.
I remember just facing her and saying, I just want you to realize that you're holding in your hands 18 years of my life. Please don't let me down.
The head referee, an American, would not permit the score to be changed, even though the judge had openly acknowledged her error. American Kristen Babb-Sprague would win the gold. Frechette, finishing second, made a formal appeal. 24 hours later, the decision unchanged the silver medal around her neck represented another devastating loss.
When you're standing there on the podium and it's not your anthem, but you know that you did your best and that somewhere maybe you deserve to have that moment, that's pretty tough.
It was too bad, and on top of everything else that had happened to Sylvie in the recent past, I mean, to put this terrible blooper on her shoulders as well was just more than anyone could bear, and that's one of the reasons that I got involved to see what I could do.
After 16 months of appeals, reason finally prevailed. The international governing body awarded her the gold medal she had earned, and 7,000 admirers gathered at the Montreal Forum to salute her.
I felt like everybody that were there were my friends, like if they knew me. And I just realized on that night that every time I was crying, everybody had tears in their eyes. And right after that, it was time to have fun.
The right result from it. She has an Olympic gold medal, which she earned and deserved, and it didn't hurt anybody else.
The belated gold is at last a loss reversed and a means to defeat at least one painful memory. As Dick Pound said, nobody else was hurt. What he meant by that was Kristen Babb-Sprague of the United States kept her gold medal, and they awarded a second one to Sylvie Frechette. Seemed like a reasonable resolution to the whole situation. Now Frechette is back, this time in the team competition. The solo and the duet events have been eliminated from the Olympic program. Now each team has 8 competitors, and today was the preliminary round. We go to double gold medalist Tracy Ruiz-Conforto and Don Criqui.
And there is Sylvie Frechette ready to perform with the Canadian team. What a wonderful gold medal story Sylvie Frechette is.
Sylvie came out of retirement in 1994. She says she just wants to go to the Olympics and take pictures. She wants to meet some athletes. She really wants to live this experience this time.
The Canadians have been trying harder. They've been continuing runner-ups to the United States in major world competitions, but they're getting better all the time. They are an excellent synchronized team.
That's right, Don. They look stronger than I've ever seen this team look.
This is the synchronized swimming team competition, 8-member teams. And now we're looking at them in their technical merit program, which counts 35% to the overall score, the other 65% in the free route team, which will be decided on Friday. Then the medals will be delivered. Canada's almost certain to get one, maybe gold. They'll challenge the U.S. for the top.
Watch how they hook up in this underwater figure. It's very difficult to stay hooked up and close, and look how they travel down the pool. Very difficult. Look how close they're swimming. Also adds to difficulty. If they get out of that pattern, they could hit each other with their arms. Nice high boost way up to their hips. The judges are going to be looking at height here. There are 7 technical elements that the judges are going to be looking for. 6 pattern changes.
Canadian team working some magic in the water. Their routine has great difficulty, which the judges are impressed by.
Nice required element there, a nice walkout, nice and slow so the judges can see how high they are. Here's a ballet leg combination. Again, they're performing it so the judges can really take a look at the execution. So far, so good, Don.
Indeed, the international judges looking for height on the verticals, for propulsion out of the water. Very powerful Canadian team.
This is their most difficult element. This is crucial right here. Are they synchronized? Are they vertical? Looks pretty good. They're holding their patterns pretty good. Slightly unsynchronized right at the very end of that last 3 continuous spins.
Tracy, the Canadians seem to be doing what this exercise calls for. They are synchronized brilliantly.
Looks that way to me, too.
They're swimming to Beethoven's Ninth, glorious music of Ode to Joy.
Very appropriate music. Split crash. Some of those verticals to begin and to end were just slightly off, slightly pushed on their back.
I think what you pointed out is very important, Tracy, and that is they swim very close together, which makes it all the more difficult.
That's right, Don.
So much hand movement and leg kicking, you can kick into one of your teammates and get out of sync.
That's right. Very difficult end here. Lots of fast, intricate leg work. And the peel off, which is very nice. They're keeping it a nice straight line. Very strong performance by the Canadians. I think there's a little bit of room there for the USA. But overall, they looked very synchronized, very high, very controlled. Just a few synchronization errors.
This is called their boost underwater.
Notice that they're not using the bottom of the pool. They get way out to their hips on that double arm boost, which is a required element. They'll get credit for that.
And there is the team score for the Canadian synchronized swimming team. 34.277. Very good indeed. Their coaches, Julie Sauvé and Sheila Shilaw, holding some lucky charms they brought from Barcelona in '92.
Are they lucky? Are those the lucky ones?
Yes, that one is the lucky one.
And now, to a thunderous ovation, the synchronized swimming team from the USA enters the pool deck.
Don, this team has won every World Cup and championship since 1991. They are very capable of performing brilliantly here.
And they got to that level through unrelenting training. The U.S. regiment consists of 6 hours a day in the water working on their routines and another 2 hours out of the water in strength and aerobic training. And there's the members of the U.S. team.
Their music will be When the Saints Go Marching In.
And a little hallelujah thrown in from Handel. You'll see why they got the great ovation. They are really good.
They have an extremely difficult routine and great artistic impression.
The entrance to the water is not included in the scoring, but it's still very impressive. USA starts to impress the judges just walking out.
They're going to start with an underwater figure. Very intricate movements, difficult to synchronize as well as traveling backwards.
The 10 judges want to see a routine that incorporates great difficulty, and the Americans do the most difficult routine of all.
They're known for swimming very high, right side up and upside down.
A lot of powerful propulsion moves that take them out of the water.
This is their first required element. Notice how hard they're working underwater. Excellent pattern, nice verticals, great synchronization. So far, they're right on. Great double body boost, another requirement. Also up to their hips. Don, they look really good right now. Very synchronized.
They also incorporate a lot of very fast, complex leg movements and spin combinations. Judges want to look for how much time they spend underwater. That comprises a lot of difficulty.
That's right. And you'll see more of that fast, intricate leg work right at the very end of their routine when they're most tired. Beautiful circle. They do more than just a circle. They add to it. And here's a little bit of that music change. Ballet leg combination here, that's a requirement. But you can see the mood change.
Have to emphasize that the swimmers never touch the bottom of the pool. The pool's 9 feet deep. Any touch of the bottom results in a 2-point penalty, which really would take a team out of medal competition.
That would be devastating for any team to get a 2-point penalty. And here's their most difficult element. This is going to be crucial. It will be the difference between who wins the gold medal.
Beautiful open spin.
Very synchronized.
Great underwater look at it.
And a split rocket. Nice extension on that split.
Great spin moves by the American team. The more revolutions, the more difficult.
That's right, Don. This is what you were talking about. There's a peel off. They're going to do some fast, intricate leg movements right here. They have to be synchronized.
One of the hallmarks of the American team is the ability to swim so close together with all those kicks and spin moves. One touch of one of your teammates could throw the whole thing out of synchronization and cost points.
Look at how high that single leg is. That's what the judges are going to be looking for. They're going to be looking at if they're vertical here in this position, a quick twirl, and then a 360 spin. Look at how synchronized they are and submerging at exactly the same moment. Wow.
Technical merit. 9.9.
The United States with the highest score of the opening day of competition in synchronized swimming. The 10-judge panel, 34.7 plus. And this technical routine counts for 35% of the overall score. The free routine on Friday will be the other 65% of the final score, which decides the medal winners. And right now, the pre-Olympic favorites, the USA, standing tall, looking at gold.
Maybe not exactly what the Baron Pierre de Coubertin had in mind, but Olympic excitement in its own right. When we come back, those who would be the world's strongest man. Talk about a shift of gears. Among the contenders, super heavyweight Andrei Chemerkin, the heir to the great Russian weightlifting tradition, but he'll have to unseat two-time defending champion Alexander Krylovich of Belarus. The big guys with the big weight when we come back.
NBC's coverage of the Centennial Olympic Games is brought to you by Legs. Nothing beats a great pair of legs. And by the document company, Xerox, a simpler way to do good work.
You're 11 inches high, 8.5 wide. You're up against documents from companies 10 times your size. But Xerox has everything you need to compete. Printers, copiers, even a document work center that prints, copies, faxes, and scans. Plus, all the support you need. Because when all they see of you is 8.5 by 11, you better leave a lasting impression.
The document company, Xerox.
being secure. It's why more families rely on Buick LeSabre than any other full-size sedan. Peace of mind from LeSabre.
Allergies acting up?
Got it all.
Oh, that bad, huh?
The itchy eyes, runny nose, I'm all stuffed up.
And that sinus headache kicks in?
It's the worst.
There must be something that could take care of it all.
Most allergy medicines just take care of itchy eyes and sneezing, but Tylenol Allergy Sinus goes further to relieve all your symptoms, even congestion and sinus headache.
You feeling better?
All better.
Good.
Tylenol Allergy Sinus takes care of it all.
NBC's coverage of the Centennial Olympic Games is brought to you by Coca-Cola Classic and you, together, refreshing, always for the fans, always Coca-Cola.
You know what I'd really like to see? A mix-up at the Olympic Village, and the weightlifters and the synchronized swimmers get on the wrong bus, and they wind up at each other's venues in each other's uniforms. But since that didn't happen, let's introduce you to one of the weightlifters. He comes from a very small town in southern Russia where he hunts, fishes, and lifts weights, and especially enjoys his wife's fabulous cooking. Now, if you want to make him mad, which isn't a good idea, what you do is ask world champion weightlifter Andrei Chermerkin to leave his very small town on short notice and fly to Moscow on official business. We found Andrei Chermerkin in a very bad mood on a brutally cold morning at Moscow's Bykovo airport. You see, he had flown 1,000 miles on a 7 a.m. flight, leaving his beloved Solnechnodolsk and his very pregnant wife, who, by the way, makes terrific borscht. And he did all this for a urine specimen. Just a few minutes' work. Once again, the International Federation was in the midst of its surprise periodic drug testing roundup. So, there he was, stuck in a nursing home, doubling as an athletic dorm, where senior citizens and weightlifting world champions mingle and complain about the bad food. If only he could drop a few hundred pounds on somebody's head, like one of those Federation suits in Budapest.
I've had it up to here with these tests. So, if you want to poison your body, it's your right. And if you don't want to take drugs, you don't have to. The drug testing is too expensive. The money should be spent on improving the lives of athletes.
Say, how about a Happy Meal, Andrei was asked. Anything, he said, to avoid eating the food here. 2 Gomburgers, 2 Kartashka free, 2 Malashny cocktails, 4 desserts, a McPower meal. But in the end, not a happy meal, because these tasty pierogies just made him think of home and Olga's succulent lemon torta. That same weekend, as Andrei stewed, his coach back in Solnechnodolsk, Vladimir Niga, was stuck watching a mind-numbing show hosted by a Russian general. Later, Olga was feeding visitors her succulent lemon torta, though 1-year-old Ivan seemed to be on a momentary health kick. Coach Niga, meanwhile, with nothing better to do, designated himself postmaster. While far away in hectic Moscow, as the nursing home braved a false alarm, Andrei was reaching out and repeating himself.
I should not have come to Moscow. My wife is pregnant. I should be with her. And these travels distract from training excessively.
He may not have been the unhappiest man in all of Russia on this particular weekend, but with the ability to hoist 550 pounds over his head, an angry, homesick Andrei Chermerkin may have been the most dangerous. When our crew went to Russia for the profile, Olga Chermerkin was about to give birth. You saw son Ivan in the piece. Well, Ivan now has a little brother, Ignat. Today, Dad attempts to win his first Olympic gold medal. The super heavyweight competition in weightlifting takes place here in the same vast building from where we are broadcasting. So let's go to a couple of guys who've hoisted a few dumbbells in their day, Phil Simms and Bob Trumpy.
Thank you, Bob. This is the warm-up area for Olympic weightlifting. The last of the 10 classes, the super heavyweights. Yes, the winner gets the medal. He also gets the tag of the world's strongest man. 2 opponents. The rest of the athletes and this scary weight.
Well, scary is the word when you look at this weight right here. It's over 570 pounds, and you can see the bar bending. Take that and the combined weight total of Bob Trumpy and I, and the winner today and the combined lifts will go over this amount of weight.
And in 1976, the world really became fascinated with super heavyweight lifters. They fell in love with a big Russian bear. His name was Vasily Alexiev.
Well, they're fascinated by him just like the Americans are fascinated with Michael Jordan. Most of these lifters here today saw him on TV, became fascinated with weightlifting, and that's why they're here today to compete for the title, the world's strongest man.
Well, Phil, this young man certainly qualifies Andrei Chermerkin. He is a policeman in his hometown in Russia, and at just 24 years old, he is the reigning world champion in the super heavyweight division. Alexander Kurlovich, the 2-time defending Olympic champion in this weight class. He turned 35 just 10 days ago. And here's Mark Henry, the most famous resident of Silsbee, Texas. He's been training for Olympic weightlifting for just 6 years. It would be a total shock if he medaled. U.S. weightlifting coach Dragomir Sorosolin reveals to succeed at this level, size and strength are just part of the equation.
Many factors are determining that shape. Mental focus, physical preparation, many hours spent in the gym before, the strength level, the biological status of the physiological system as well. Many factors. All those put together will generate that state of mind and state of body where surprises can arise. And I've seen athletes performing 20 kilograms personal record performances as a result of this approach.
The training is finished. Now each athlete must look within himself. The title of the world's strongest man is about to be decided. Each athlete will have 3 attempts in each of the 2 lifts, and the snatch is first.
Anne's one of my clients. She likes to hear details and specifics, hates getting summaries. Has finally learned how to leave the office at the office. Believes in buying stocks for the long term. Misses her kids, but not enough to want them to move back home. Knowing Anne the way I do helps me know which investments make sense for her.
All of us back here at Saturn are big fans of our Saturn cycling teams.
Pardon me. Excuse me. Pardon me, guys. Excuse me. Sorry.
It's not because some of them were picked for the summer games in Atlanta.
Hey, you dropped this.
Or because they're recognized all over the world.
Hey, buongiorno. Buongiorno. You'll venire ad un barbecue?
It's not even because they've won so many races. No, the reason we're so proud of them is because they truly understand the value of teamwork.
Tom, you win. No, you take it. It's your turn today, man. No, you win. I think you win. Hey, guys. What's up? Oh, he'll take it.
In fact, sometimes they even surprise us.
I'd really like to thank all my teammates. Diane Hill in door trim, Kevin Kehoe in paint, Pat Evans in powertrain, Bill Engler in engine block.
Imagine a world without limits, where anything is possible. AT&T believes communication can help make it happen. Because when people communicate, there's no limit to what they can do.
There you are. You're getting
Slugger, how are you? Good to see you, my little man.
What? No helmet.
There are ordinary sandwiches.
Oh, what a face. I love this.
And then there are extraordinary sandwiches, made with the rich, creamy, unmistakable taste of Hellman's real mayonnaise.
Bring out the helmets and bring out the best. There's Grandma's sweet cheeks.
Katie Couric joins us now. You know, it's one measure of gymnastics' continuing and growing popularity that tonight, even with no medals at stake, the public almost demands another night of gymnastics, so they have this gala. And it all began, this popularity, more than 20 years ago.
It's funny, Bob. The public can't seem to get enough, and now finally the girls can start to have fun, and the guys as well, because the competition is officially over. But as gymnastics draws to a close tonight, there's a new generation of names and faces that will be added to the Olympic roster, names like Lilia, Shannon, Carrie, and Dominique. But if there was one young woman who paved the way for all the rest, it was, of course, Olga.
AT&T, bringing you a world without limits, presents Centennial Olympic Moments.
She was the first girl to fly. Red ribbons, a pixie from the Soviet Union, Olga Korbut. It was in Munich, 1972, when the little girl from Grodno, Belarus, changed the sport of gymnastics. Before Olga, gymnasts were elegant, sophisticated, graceful women. They were praised for their beauty, but not for their popularity. What changed everything was a 17-year-old with simply this.
When I smiled, when I cried, when I became my big star, this is like a road to future life.
Olga barely qualified for the Olympics. In fact, she filled the last spot on her team. But it was her performance that helped the Soviets win team gold, increasing the medal count for her country. Yet when it came to Olga, politics didn't matter. Americans fell in love in the middle of the Cold War.
Olga Korbut.
I never will change. The face may be changed, but my heart, no.
An all-around title is where a gymnast earns her place in history. Olga Korbut's story was told from her heart with tears.
I cried because people didn't expect me to fall. And why I was disappointed because I didn't do it like I need to do.
Olga had impressed the world and alienated her teammates with her success. Until this happened. Most of us might not remember who won the all-around in 1972. It wasn't Olga. She finished 7th. What we do remember is her vulnerability. In a span of 5 days, Olga Korbut had overcome obscurity and failure to become the most popular gymnast in history.
I think I give to world a lot because I'm like a mother in gymnastics.
Because of Olga Korbut, gymnastics became the most popular sport of the Olympic Games. Its heroes, young girls, remembered by their first names. So in all, Olga Korbut retired from gymnastics, having won 4 gold medals and 2 silvers. Today, she is teaching basic gymnastics in a number of public schools right here in Atlanta. She hopes to make the sport more accessible to all kids, and of course, she continues to keep an eye out for rising stars.
And as you mentioned, or at least we saw in the piece, Nadia Comaneci, Mary Lou Retton, and others follow. That was needed to keep the momentum going, but the one who started it was Olga Korbut. At age 17, we knew her as the elf from Grodno, now she has a 17-year-old child of her own.
That's right. She's been married for 19 years to a musician from Belarus, a singer named Leonid Borkevich.
Very good.
He's apparently very popular in Europe. Some people compare him to Paul Simon here in the States. And you're right, she has a 17-year-old son named Richard. He is too tall to be a gymnast, but he's supposed to be a heck of a basketball and tennis player. But you're right, the same age she was when she shined so much in 1972.
From her perspective now at age 41, what does she think of the gymnastics world?
Well, it's somewhat ironic, I think, because she's the athlete who ushered in the era of the little girl gymnast, but she's disappointed, apparently, that there's so much emphasis on these daring athletic moves and not enough emphasis on the graceful moves. So she'd like the rules to change so they put more emphasis on the balletic components and not so much on the acrobatic elements of the routines.
And even to divide it so that there's two divisions, younger and older, right?
She'd like people to be able to compete, say, through the ages of 17, and then yet another competition for 17 and over, so women can continue to perform and compete through the ages of 20 and even in their 30s. Imagine that. I can't.
All right, Katie, thanks a lot. A little bit of everything in tonight's show, a potpourri. We will have gymnastics later, of course, but right now it's back to weightlifting. We rejoin Bob Trumpy and Phil Simms. Bob.
Two sets of lifts. This will be the snatch and body weight in Olympic weightlifting can be a big factor. The tie always goes to the lightest lifter, and you will notice that there is a 135-pound difference between Stefan Botef and Mark Henry, and yet they're both in the same weight category, Phil.
Well, that's a big discussion going on all the time around here. Does body weight help or hurt you in this division? And the three most important elements in weightlifting, Bob, are speed, power, and flexibility. So you have to think generally that the smaller athlete is going to be faster and more flexible. So I think it's going to be interesting in the future. Will these super heavyweights get a little lighter so they can be more athletic?
Speaking of speed and power, Mr. Simms, we saw a good demonstration of that the other night, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. You know, and being an ex-athlete, I still like to compete a little. So what do? I take the biggest lifter or the biggest athlete ever in Olympic history and challenge him to an eating contest.
You can order anything on there you want in
make it
volume you want. That's the most important thing.
There's only one thing better than food.
Free food.
Free food. He knows it's tonight. It's free. And if it's free, take two.
Supposed to keep eating now? This was the deal?
I saw some chicken, you know.
Oh, some Cajun chicken.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Have a good evening. Nice having you in.
Thank you, sir. I think the turn was a little bit.
Let's see, Bob Costas.
I like it.
And I hear Bob Costas is a great tipper.
Well, speaking of great tips, Mark Henry is about to attempt 408 pounds in the snatch. It would be a new American record. Again, the snatch, the first of two lifts, the snatch and the clean and jerk. He is attacking the bar,
Yes,
Phil.
he is. He's excited. He's sure he can. Oh, he had it. Again, he loses his balance with the weight once he gets it up over his head. As he was pulling it up, he just got it behind him so far. And Bob, many times in these competitions, we say, once that bar starts moving, as strong as these guys are, they're still not capable of stopping that kind of weight.
Stalking the bar. Alexander Kurlovich, this attempt at 430 pounds in the snatch. His second, he missed it the first time.
And Bob, if you notice on his upper left leg, we see a wrap there, and we wonder if he hurt himself warming up.
Whoa, not balanced yet. Cannot
His
make
arm. It looked like his right arm. It almost looked like it dislocated right there. Watch Kurlovich's right elbow as he stands up with the weight. You can see it start to shake, and he does the right thing and lets the weight go.
If he misses this weight, he bombs out in the snatch, cannot compete in the clean and jerk, and can go home.
I see it looks like he's taking the wrap off of his left leg. Of course, Has to pull out all the stops to make a successful lift.
Elbow again, right elbow.
Right arm.
He could not hold it. He hurt that right elbow a little bit.
It's
They
a good
count the lift.
It's a good lift. Even though that right arm was flexing, it looked like it bit. The judges said it was good, and you got to say, what a competitor, a veteran, kept himself in the competition.
Stefan Botev, his second lift now in the snatch. The attempt will be at 441 pounds, representing Australia.
Wow, excellent there. The lightest competitor in this group. And you show that he's got great speed, wonderful technique, and he just explodes on the bar, and he did that easily.
Meanwhile, Andrei Chomerkin waiting for his second lift in the snatch. Ronnie Veller, next 26, formerly competed for East Germany, won the Olympic heavyweight title in Barcelona, earned the coveted world's strongest man title by winning the 1993 Worlds. This at 200 kilos, 441 pounds, his second lift.
Has excellent speed once he gets it moving. Wow, he drove that weight right up. He hit it with his hips, threw it up in the air, and he got under it very easily.
441 pounds for Ronnie Veller, his second snatch. Now it puts the pressure on Stefan Botev. What's he going to try for his third? This is a new personal record now for Andrei Chomerkin, 446 pounds, his third lift in the snatch. Just 24 years old. He is a policeman in his hometown. Never goes into duty. They don't have boots big enough to fit him.
Well, forget the boots. How about the uniform? Where do you get one to fit that body?
Began lifting when he was 15 years old. Couldn't get underneath that 446 pounds.
The weight was just too heavy right there. He wasn't able to explode and get it off the ground far enough to even give himself a chance to get underneath it.
Stefan Botev, this attempt, 446 pounds, his third lift in the snatch.
And you're talking about an athlete. Here is one right here. Watch how quick he moves this bar and gets underneath it. Oh, just too heavy right there.
But his best lift is 441 pounds in the snatch. And he is the current leader. Ronnie Veller, representing Germany, this his third attempt in the snatch. 446 pounds. It would give him the lead in the snatch.
He has shown on his first couple lifts not to have what I would consider great technique, but he just used his power and strength to control the bar and then make it a successful attempt. Concentrating, thinking of positive thoughts, making sure he gets this attempt and makes it successful.
Whoa! So he too misses 446 pounds. His best lift in the snatch, 441. So a recap of the snatch finds Stefan Botev of Australia in the lead. Ronnie Veller of Germany is second. Andrei Chomerkin is third. But the competition is not over. The clean and jerk is left. They call it the King of Lifts. And it's up next.
When you're on the run, when you're on the move, when you want a cold one to satisfy you, Coca-Cola is always easy to find. Always right on time, always Coca-Cola.
You didn't have to go in weekends, but you did. You didn't have to drive the team, but you did. You didn't need to volunteer, but you did. When you take pride in what you do, you always do more than you need to. That's how it is at Pennzoil. We didn't have to achieve the tougher GF2 motor oil performance standard ahead of its time, but we did.
Pennzoil, a broadcast sponsor of NBC's coverage of the 1996 Olympic Summer Games.
My name is Kazam, and your wish is my command. Huh? I understand you have a dream.
But you're not a genie.
That's real life. I'm a genie in Kazam the movie.
But this is a commercial.
Same rules apply. Now make a wish.
To play football in the summer games.
They don't play football in the summer games.
Hey, you get to be a genie.
Good point.
Man, those are some powerful shoes.
It's your dream, but this is my planet.
What makes an Olympian? Speed, flexibility, making the impossible look easy. One company does just that, Motorola. Years of experience and proven technology made it possible for Motorola to create a wireless communication system powerful enough for the largest games in history. So when you see the impossible at these Olympic Games, look a little closer. Motorola, what you never thought possible.
Go online with the biggest Olympic website and introduce yourself to the largest Olympian, American favorite Mark Henry, who's battling for a medal in the super heavyweight weightlifting competition. Log on to www.olympic.nbc.com.
We welcome you back to the Georgia World Congress Center. This is the second phase of the competition. Snatch is done. Now it's the clean and jerk, and this is where the weight really gets heavy, Phil.
Well, the lifters and everybody says this is where the competition starts, right here, because you can do more weight in the clean and jerk, and you have a chance to advance. And remember, it's the total of the two lifts that give you the gold medal and the silver medal winners.
Well, Mark Henry's first clean and jerk will be at 446 pounds. They call the clean and jerk the king of lifts.
Well, they call it the king of lifts because you need every muscle in your body to lift these massive weights and put it up over your head.
446 pounds. He is good.
Excellent job right there. Yeah, and it's a good lift by Mark Henry. And, you know, you can't help but think, looking at him, if he just trained full-time on these two lifts, that he could do better in these competitions and have a chance to medal.
Well, you see him limping. We just heard from the ready room. Mark Henry out of the competition. Alexander Kurlovich in the clean and jerk. This attempt, 545 pounds, his second.
He has to have a successful lift here if he wants to have any chance of getting a medal at these Olympics. Never a chance. Hurting that arm, which he did, right arm, which he did during the snatch competition, just not give him a chance to have the power in it to pull and maintain this type of weight.
The reigning super heavyweight world champion, Andre Chmerkin. He also happens to hold the clean and jerk record at 559 pounds. This attempt, his second, at 551 pounds.
His first lift he did with really no problem at all, and it makes you think he still has a lot of energy and power left and should be successful on this attempt.
Goodness.
Wow, he made that look easy.
And with that successful clean and jerk at 551, he temporarily takes over the lead.
And Bob, you talk about such a big man, but wonderful technique. And the thing that's really impressive, once he cleans it, he doesn't even have to go way down in the squat position to get it back up. So strong, able to get it from what they call the half squat position.
Second attempt for Stefan Botef of Australia. He too at 551 pounds.
The lightest person ever to lift 550 pounds over his head.
Whoa, snapped it up. The lift is good, and he temporarily takes over the lead.
Let's see if he got it.
Do the judges give it their 3 and 6? Good lift. Good lift.
To make it a good lift, you must have control of the bar, and your feet, shoulders, and bar all must be parallel. He just made that a successful attempt.
Ronnie Beller now approaching the bar. His attempt, 556 pounds. Interesting to note, 1989 was nearly killed in an automobile accident. Took him 15 months to recover. He was in a coma for 5 days, back training, and now with a 556-pound attempt in his third in the clean and jerk, he has a chance to medal.
And Bob, you know, talking about that car accident, the doctor said if he wasn't a weightlifter and so big and strong, there's no doubt that it would have killed him.
Is it good?
Well, these guys are putting on some show out here. There's 3 competitors, 4 competitors are just driving each other to new heights. Everybody makes a lift. They think they're in control of the competition, and the next competitor comes out, betters him. So we got a great contest going.
Stephen Botep of Australia, a world record attempt.
And you got to say, Stephen Botep is a surprise, the biggest surprise of this competition. Most people did not expect him to have a chance to medal, and here he is out here still with a great shot at the gold medal.
He is the lightest lifter in the competition. 562 pounds would give him the world record. McLean can't get it up.
He started leaning just a little forward. That makes the weight, like we've said so many times, Bob, when that weight starts moving, even though these athletes are so strong, they cannot stop it.
Ronnie Beller's attempt at a world record. He, too, will try to get 562 pounds over his head. He is presently in first place. This will extend his lead.
And you notice he has no wraps on his wrists, nothing on his knees, and does not even wear a weight belt. So that tells you, Bob, that this guy is healthy, and he's been training, and that's why he's doing so well in this competition.
26 years old, weighs 305 pounds, cleans it on his collarbones. And it's good. A world record. 562 pounds by Ronnie Beller of Germany.
Oh, he's taking his shoes off. All right. It's a tradition. He's like Michael Johnson of the USA. Take those shoes off and throw them in the crowd. And that's a big competition. He deserves to celebrate.
His father is his coach, Gunther. Been his personal coach throughout his entire career. So now Andre Tremerkin must set another world record at 573 pounds, the last lift in the competition.
And this is pressure right here. He needs this lift. He has to be successful to win the gold medal. Comes out of the bottom awful quick there. Now the hard part. He's got it. 573 pounds, a world record, a tremendous job by Tremerkin.
That also ties his world record in the total, 1,008 pounds. He is the gold medalist and will wear the label of the world's strongest man.
Andre Tremerkin, only 24 years old, so he hadn't even reached his prime yet. So in the year 2000, down in Sydney, Australia, he'll probably be the favorite again in the super heavyweight division.
He does win the gold medal. The silver goes to Ronnie Beller of Germany. The bronze, Stephan Botep of Australia. Could we be looking at the face of the next? Vasily Aleksiev, the Russian bear lifter in the super heavyweight division.
So our friend from Solnechnodolsk, Andre Tremerkin, takes that gold medal. Meanwhile, while all that was going on at the weightlifting venue, they're playing the women's gold medal softball game in Columbus, Georgia. Clearly the 2 best teams in the world. They've met several times before, in fact 3 times in this tournament. Team USA versus China. Let's pick up the action here. In the top half of the third, the Chinese team has runners at first and third with 2 out. They try the double steal with Michelle Granger pitching. The catcher, Jillian Box, throws down to Dot Richardson. She pegs it home, and Chang Chun Fang is out of there. Beautiful play. Game remains scoreless. Bottom of the third, Laura Berg with a single. She's on first, nobody out. Dot Richardson hits one to right. It is fair, and I mean just fair. A 2-run shot. U.S. leads it 2-0. But the Chinese team isn't convinced. In fact, they argue vehemently that the ball was foul. The game was delayed 10 minutes as they protested. Interpreters were called on the field before the umpires convinced the Chinese team to stop arguing and resume playing, but they resumed only after filing a protest of the game. The U.S. adds another run in the third to take a 3-0 lead. Now they're in the fifth. They play 7 innings in women's softball. The gold medal within sight for Team USA, up 3-0. And we'll have more softball updates during the broadcast, but when we come back, it's women's springboard diving. China's Fuming Xia, who earned a platform gold on Saturday, is favored to become the first woman since 1960 to sweep both Olympic diving events. We're back with that in a moment.
NBC's coverage of the Centennial Olympic Games is brought to you by Kodak, official imaging sponsor of the '96 Olympic Games. By Best Foods, the makers of Hellmann's and Best Foods fine products. And by Cotton Incorporated. Cotton, the fabric of our lives.
Introducing the car you'll never get over. The new 1997 Wide-Track Grand Prix from Pontiac. Call toll-free 1-888-97-WIDER for your free video information package. See how wider is better.
Someday there will be no subways or corporate ladders to climb. If retirement is a bridge to be crossed when we get there, then we must accept whatever lies ahead of us. If it is one we must build, then let us begin.
Even if your rings don't measure up to USA Gymnastics team standards, you can still win big this summer. Play McDonald's when the U.S. wins, you win game. You could win $1 million instantly.
Another huge crowd at the Georgia Tech Aquatic Center anticipating the preliminaries of the women's 3-meter springboard. And with the Chinese already taking both golds handed out so far in these diving Olympic Games, and with Fuming Xia the favorite in this women's 3-meter competition tonight, China is making noises of becoming just the second country besides the United States of sweeping all 4 Olympic diving golds.
The Chinese are appearing extremely dominant, and with Fuming Xia already having won a gold medal, she has a little momentum going into this event. But her teammate, Tan Chuping, is the world champion. It's kind of hard to decide who's favored in this event, but the Russians could present a problem for them. They are very elegant divers and well respected by everybody in the world.
The Americans have been diving tough so far in these Olympics. Mark Lindsay took the bronze last night in the men's 3-meter. Mary Ellen Clark took the bronze in the women's 10-meter. But asking the same of the Americans in this event tonight, Jenny Kime and Melissa Moses, might be a little bit too much.
Well, Well, only because neither one of them has had any Olympic experience before and not much international experience. We're going to have to see how the crowd affects them, maybe positively, and also how the pressure could affect them being in their first Olympic Games.
And we begin to find out right now. 24-year-old Melissa Moses from Orange Park, Florida, the three-time gold medalist in the national championships, a definite 3-meter specialist, her very first Olympic dive. First of 5 in the prelims.
Melissa Moses begins her Olympic experience with an inward 2.5 somersault tuck. This is a dive that a couple of years ago she felt that she really wasn't very good at. She's worked on it really a lot. It's a lot better now, and this is one of the dives, of course, that helped her win the Olympic trials. It's a bit slow. She didn't start off real assertive and aggressively off the diving board. She loves to compete, and I'm surprised that she's not going after this harder. Her hips go back a bit from the board, and you see she's kind of low as she kicks out, and that's why the splash comes up.
So the scores for Moses, mostly 6s and 6.5s. Her teammate is Jenny Kime, who will be competing in this 3-meter springboard. But Jenny Kime was once a platform specialist until a bad crash off the 10-meter triggered fears, which eventually drove her to the 3-meter springboard.
I had my doubts along the way, many doubts. I was struggling at times. I didn't know if I'd be there. Had some problems with platform, and that was my best event. And just recently, I've been able to, forget all about that stuff. And, I was able to sit down and figure out what I wanted, and I just, left everything else behind and went on. And now that I've made it, I'm just so excited. I don't even believe it. It's times I have to sit down, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm here. I'm at the Olympics, look at, this is great. It's incredible.
Well, Jenny, that moment is now here, your first Olympic dive. 18 years old from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And she and Melissa Moses are very good friends, so at least that's been a calming experience for the two.
And she seems a bit starstruck, but I think she's been brought back to reality because she's injured her back a little bit while she was here and hasn't been able to practice a whole lot. But her first dive doesn't demonstrate that. Really, it exhibits somebody that can do the dive very well and does it often. It's a 2.5 somersault pike. You see, she puts her feet down on the end of the board, and as she goes in the water, she somersaults underneath. You see the spray out in front of the pool? Well, that is so the divers can see the water, where the surface of the water is.
And the marks for Jenny Kime in her very first Olympic dive. Not bad at all. 7 and 7.5. And while it may be very difficult for Kime and Moses to medal, Fu Ming Sha of China is the favorite to win it. She already has the gold medal on the 10-meter platform. And at age 17 is compiling gold after gold now, and it could be an Olympic record by the time her career is done.
Fu Ming Sha doesn't have any easy dives in her springboard list. Just like her platform list, she's doing the hardest list that any woman in the world is doing. This dive is 3.0 degree of difficulty. She does a nice steady dive. It isn't perfect. It's a little bit over on the entry, and her feet weren't pointed as well as they could be, but they don't need to be. This dive is so well executed in the air. Just very steady, a little bit too much splash, but it's going to net big points because of the degree of difficulty.
Big points indeed. 63 total for Fu Ming Sha on her first of 5 preliminary dives. And the Chinese contingent is so strong. This is Tan Xiuping, 19 years old, 17th on the 3-meter in Barcelona 4 years ago, but is definitely considered a medal contender in this event.
Tan Xiuping comes back with an inward 2.5 somersault pike. Same dive Fu Ming Sha did. Fu Ming Sha set her up. If she does it a little bit better, she'll get higher scores. Nice dive. I don't think it was better than Fu Ming Shaw's because it was a little slow compared to Ming Shaw. Her entry was a bit cleaner, but it was slow and lower finishing. She starts the dive just a little too late, and I saw her legs just barely separated before she got into the tight pike.
Said she gained valuable experience in the 92 games despite that disappointing 17th place when she was fighting a sore back and maybe perhaps a case of the nerves. But Tan Shu Ping and her opening dive, solid marks.
Recent studies have disproved that men are incapable of communicating with women during sporting events. Observe. Kevin. Kevin.
Hi, honey. Men behaving badly. Wednesdays this fall on NBC.
Tomorrow on First Thing in the Morning.
Unbroken spirit, unity, and emotion fill Centennial Park as thousands remember the victims of the blast. Authorities have several leads, and now the world waits for answers. Then in Health Watch, diseases that women are more prone to get, so why are doctors missing the diagnosis? And the symptoms going unnoticed? Tomorrow, some warning signs. And it's a hot attraction here in Atlanta, the Southern cooking that's drawing Olympic-sized crowds.
Tomorrow on First Thing in the Morning. Committed to Chicago.
You can protect your eyes and your skull and your ribs and your knees and your liver and your spleen. Or you can protect your lead.
One phone call can change your life. One call, and you'll have a Health Rider, the exercise machine that started a fitness revolution. The Health Rider will be delivered to your door fully assembled, so you can try it in your own home for 30 days. In just those 30 days, you'll look and feel better. Your clothes will fit better. You'll even sleep better. And if all that doesn't happen, just send the Health Rider back for a full refund. Call us for information. The call is free. The trial is free. One phone call can change your life.
All people are closer together. Every 2 years, for a few glorious weeks, it becomes easier to imagine. International Paper is a proud sponsor of the Olympic Summer Games.
Certainly a familiar name in the ranks of diving over the years. Irina Lashko of Russia, now 23 years old. These are her third Olympics. In '88, she was fourth on the 3-meter, and she grabbed the silver on the 3-meter in Barcelona 4 years ago. And Cynthia, I know you like the dynamics and the techniques and the gracefulness of these Russian divers.
Well, I really do, and a lot of people thought in 1992, when the great Gao Min from China retired, that Irina Lashko would take over and be queen of the springboard, so to speak. And she really just didn't step up to do that right away. And, of course, then she not only got married but had a child, and now she's come back. I think she's stronger than she was before and maybe a little more confident. Oh, a beautiful takeoff in the air. It's just so aesthetic, you know. It's got a lot of finesse. She makes it look really easy, goes right up above the board. Look, board level, and she's done with a 2.5 somersault. A beautiful entry into the water. Look at the hand grab going in and the toe point, a lot like Becky Rule.
And the first marks for Irina Lashko put her right behind the Chinese Fu Ming Sha and Tan Shu Ping in this first of 5 dives in the preliminaries. Ready now is Irina Pisareva of Ukraine, 22 years old. She's been diving for quite some time now, but not a lot of worldwide major international experience.
No real international experience at all, even though she's been diving for 12 years, and she's a pretty good diver. She's doing some tough dives. She has some of those 3.0 dives, even though she's starting out with a lower degree of difficulty, 2.4. A lot of divers will start out with this particular dive, a forward 2.5. It's a simple dive. Now, her hurdle wasn't very high. That's the jump that one takes before leaving the springboard. And in order to go up high in the air, you want to take a high hurdle there to load the springboard so that it will catapult you up in the air. Her hurdle was low, sort of like a junior diver in a way.
Very relaxed style for Pisareva, and the score is 6.5 to 7.5. They range. Here is Ludi Torkey of Australia, the smallest competitor here. She is just 4 feet 9, 88 pounds out of Australia in only 4 years of diving background.
She's an absolute little sprite. A lot of people have been talking about how little she is, but how spunky she is also. She had very nice board work. She was very soft on the end of the board. Her toes contacted the board before the rest of her feet and her heels, so she didn't make a lot of noise right there. She's very soft on the end, allows her to go up in the air, hits a real nice position, just over-rotates slightly, doesn't quite come out of the dive soon enough.
And the scores for the petite Ludi Torkey. Not bad to begin her preliminary round in her first of 5 dives. And another Russian up top, Vera Elinya, 22 years old, 6th on the 3-meter in Barcelona 4 years ago. And does she embody the same style as the other Russian we've seen here tonight, or no?
Absolutely. I think they're probably the two most aesthetically appreciated divers in the contest. They're definitely dynamic, powerful, but they're also extremely graceful. And I've talked about it before, but that was one of the things that Louganis was known for and really made a mark in the world of diving, for being able to do all those difficult dives and do them so effortlessly and beautifully. She starts out with an inward 2.5 somersault tuck. She kicked out of the dive too soon in order to drill the entry and get the real high scores. The takeoff is good. She starts her arms down in front. Look at that tuck. Perfectly together with her knees and feet. This dive could have gone 8s and above if she had drilled the entry.
Well, not quite as good as her Russian counterpart, Arita Lashko, but a solid start for Vera Elinya. So the standings after 1 of 5 dives in the prelims. Remember, the top 18 make it to the semifinals as expected. The Chinese 1-2. In fact, they're tied, Tan Shuping and Fu Mingxia. Arita Lashko of Russia, as expected, another nice dive for her. She is in 3rd place. Jenny Kime of the United States in 8th. Melissa Moses, her teammate, in 13th.
And we'll get back to Dan Hicks and Cynthia Potter at the diving venue before too much longer. But coming up, the final night of gymnastics from the Georgia Dome. Tonight, it's the Champions Gala, the last word from the world's finest gymnasts.
MCI presents the last 24 hours of the Olympics, brought to you by Friends and Family Free. There's no better savings than free.
Big news. This is unbelievable. I gotta let everybody know.
Join Friends and Family Free and get 1 free hour of calls automatically every month to other MCI customers. No names, no lists, free calls every month. With no better savings than free, honey. Call now to sign up for this new plan, Friends and Family Free. Free calls. Whoopee!
Every day, I see something new.
There are beautiful pictures in all of us.
The speech is always changing.
Now, Kodak introduces a new technology that will let you take those pictures further than you ever imagined.
A whole new kind of film for a whole new kind of camera. A film so advanced it loads like this. Gives you a choice of 3 picture sizes, so you can capture the world just as you see it. Kodak Advantix film and cameras for the advanced photo system. Take pictures further.
Excuse me. Where you drop this back there?
Where?
In Nebraska.
Lee Jeans, the brand that fits. There will always be leaders. Followers. Homework. Science projects. The 7 wonders of the world. Your world. Your Coke. There will always be boys. Girls. The right moves. The wrong moves. Your date. No date. Your identity. Your Coke. There will always be. Always.
The faces of the athletes who made us laugh, who made us cry. In the world of Olympic gymnastics, the stories all written here on a day when it's time to say goodbye to the champions of gymnastics. And welcome to the Georgia Dome one last time for gymnastics. We are here in a very relaxed atmosphere for once for the Champions Gala. This is a chance for the gold, silver, and bronze medalists to have some fun.
Please welcome.
And first up is going to be Alexei Nemov. Now, this guy has won 2 golds, a silver, and 3 bronze here in Atlanta alone.
As you said, John, a lot of fooling around today. This is a reward for these athletes.
Well, he's working the crowd, but I'll tell you, he needs a breather right about now.
Nemov acting more like an American than the American. Alexei Nemov, one of the great stories here in Atlanta, and so is this next gentleman, Lee Dong-hwa. Dong-hwa made history at these Olympic Games for a country that he no longer calls home. It's been 44 years since the Swiss flag was raised at the Summer Olympic Games, and amazingly, it was Lee Dong-hwa from Chengdu, China, who won gold for that country. He had fallen in love with Esperanza Friedli when she asked for directions on the streets of Beijing. He waited 5 years for Swiss citizenship to be with Esperanza. And 2 nights ago, the 29-year-old Lee Dong-hwa brought honor to his wife, their country, and to himself. And now a chance for this crowd to see him on the piece of apparatus where he won the gold. Over on the floor is Dominique Dawes.
Well, she's known as Awesome Dawsome. She replaced Carrie Strug in this event finals. Nobody wanted her leaving this Georgia Dome without a medal.
She leaves here with a team gold and a bronze on floor exercise. And that's why they call her Awesome Dawson. The king of Barcelona, Vitaly Scherba, ready for an encore performance in just a few moments.
Australia's Great Barrier Reef. You don't need fins to swim under it. You don't need wings to fly over it. You don't need 4 legs to run through it. But you just might need to bring this.
Thanks.
If you want to experience every inch of Australia's Great Barrier Reef, bring your sense of adventure and your Visa card. Because while Wild Track Jeep Safaris will take you through its jungles, Reef Watch Air Tours will take you through its skies, and Pro Sail Schooners will take you across its lagoons, none of them will take American Express. Visa, the card for down under, high over and straight through. It's everywhere you want to be.
What you're thinking? Hey, cows. What the Bravada's thinking?
Mud on a 4% grade. We do slippage via viscous clutch.
With its exclusive Smart Track system, the Bravada automatically reacts to changing road conditions. So with no buttons to push or levers to pull, you can think about more important things.
I wonder who invented barbed wire. That would be Joseph Glidden.
Well, this concludes our tour of the Bud Light Brewery. Thank you very, very much.
Hey, look, everybody. It's a new guy. Hey, new guy.
Where?
New guy? Hey, new guy. Name's Jim. Been here since September '93. This here's Fred. He took the tour in '92.
For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down.
Welcome to paradise.
Make it a Bud Light.
If you need anything from the outside, I'm the guy you see. Okay? Chips, pretzels.
Tuesdays this fall, Paul and Jamie are starting a family.
It's a small step for a couple of Buckmans, but it's a huge leap for Buckmankind.
Jack and Carly are starting a marriage.
I'm a horny island boy.
Paul and Jamie have a dog.
Honey?
Jack and Carly, 3 kids.
Will just walked in on me again. Do you have any idea how that feels?
No, what's that like? Mad About You, something so right. 2 great families, 1 great night. NBC Tuesdays this fall.
The first gymnast to win a medal for Italy since 1964, and remember, it was gold. The red-headed Italian with the Russian name, who is said to own this event, and he did the other night. Yuri Keki.
The title of the strongest man in gymnastics, and it belongs to this man. This is great because he gets to do rings the way he wants to do it. No rules here. How long can he hold this cross?
He's not even winded. Yuri Keki. Coming up, one of my favorite stories at the Games. It's a love story of Olympic proportions. Vitaly Sherba said he did not come to Atlanta to win bronze. He came for another medal. He was at his second Olympics, not well trained, because his wife Irina had nearly died last December in a car accident. Having come so close to losing his whole world, Sherba wanted to quit, but his wife made him promise to return to the sport. This time, Vitaly, the king, had become mortal. With everything they had been through, Sherba did not have his best performance. But do you think Irina cared? The gold medal he earned for his wife, they don't give in the Olympic Games. Sherba is a huge crowd favorite here. He's talked about in 2 years, when he is eligible, applying for U.S. citizenship.
And John, as you know, he won no gold medals here in Atlanta, but he is a huge star, not just with the fans, the people in the audience, but he is a huge star with all of the gymnasts on the floor. One of the all-time greats.
Just a taste of Vitaly.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we direct your attention back to the floor.
Coming up, Li Shaoxuan from China. A team silver, gold, all around silver on the floor. He said when he came here he wanted to bring honor back to his country, back to the small town of Xintao. I know his grandfather and his parents and sister, who live in a 5-room flat in Xintao, are watching now, and they, all of them, had a great games watching the excellence of Li Shaoxuan.
And John, I'm really wondering if he's going to be able to have a little bit of fun out here. I hope he does. He's one of the most serious guys I've ever met. No fooling around there.
Li Shaoxuan. Big doings coming up. We're going to mix up the Americans and Romanian girls, put together by the Romanian-American coaches. That should be cool. Stand by.
No medals at stake tonight in the gymnastics you're seeing. This is more for entertainment. They're calling it the Gymnastics Gala. Or is it Gala? can never decide which. Either way, it's kind of festive. Also, mountain biking still ahead. One of the new sports at these games. Julie Furtado of Durango, Colorado, is one of the favorites. We'll be back at the Centennial Olympic Games after we step aside for a few minutes.
Still to come from the Centennial Olympic Games, the final night of gymnastics, the Champions Gala. More of this special presentation by the world's top gymnasts. And the Dream Team in a quarterfinal game against Brazil's Holy Hand. Oscar Schmidt, the all-time leading Olympic scorer. NBC's coverage will continue following your local news.
Isn't this lovely? He's been on, yeah, him, her too.
I can be sexy.
Him, nice hair. Remember him? We've seen her, him, that guy, her, oh yeah, her, these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Him, her, him, her, him, her. What's happening? They've all been on Dateline. Dateline Sunday, every Sunday after the Olympics on NBC.
From the Channel 5 newsroom, this is a Channel 5 Olympic News Break.
Good evening, I'm Allison Rosati. He spent 3 days in the spotlight as one of the heroes of the Olympic bombing. But tonight, the security guard who found the pipe bomb at Centennial Olympic Park is now the main suspect in the case. Ron Majors has details.
I'm Ron Majors in Atlanta, where there's a shocking development in connection with the bomb blast here at Centennial Olympic Park. Take a look at the security station right outside the Mix Tower. This is the tower where the bomb blast occurred. There is heavy security here. These people are on duty not to allow anyone else up the Mix Tower, but their job is also to keep the area around the Mix Tower secure. Now, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a guard who was on duty there on Saturday morning is a prime suspect in this case. His name is Richard Jewell. He's 33 years old. He received bomb training, according to the newspaper, when he was a deputy sheriff in northeast Georgia. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a suspect in the bombing is now identified. I'm Ron Majors in Atlanta.
Jewell has not been arrested. Some witnesses say at the time of the 911 phone call warning of the bombing, Jewell was seen on guard in a different location. The investigation continues tonight. Ironically, this major development on a suspect in the bombing comes the same day Centennial Olympic Park reopened. Jazz trumpeter Wynton Marsalis performed for the thousands of people who gathered to celebrate the park's reopening. 2 people died and more than 100 were injured in that bombing at the park. The Olympic bombing is weighing heavy on the minds of Chicago police getting ready for the Democratic National Convention. As crews work to prepare the United Center for next month's convention, Mayor Daley today said nothing will be overlooked when it comes to overall protection.
Terrorism is an unfortunate fact of our modern world, but the experts on our security task force are weighing every contingency to minimize the risks for us and our guests.
Several blocks around the United Center also will be closed off for the convention, which isn't sitting well with demonstrators planning to protest during the convention. Ahead on this Olympic news break, one waterlogged west suburb finally drying out. And tonight's Olympic postcard.
NBC5 Olympic team coverage is brought to you locally in part by Visa, by Nike, by AT&T, by United Airlines, and by IBM.
When it comes to athletics, this is the symbol for excellence. When it comes to automotive leadership, this is Ford Taurus, America's best-selling car 4 years running. No car is safer in a frontal impact. And now for '96, it's roomier and more powerful than ever before. With $1,000 cash back direct from Ford. If excellence is what you want, Ford Taurus is what you get. See your favorite Ford dealer today. Home to 5 of America's top 10 bestsellers. There's more to a Ford.
Keeping your business running like clockwork. We understand how important that is. That's why Chicago's hometown airline, United, gives you over 1,000 flights in and out of O'Hare, with more service to more cities than any other airline. How is it we understand business so well? Because our over 50,000 employees are business owners themselves, the employee owners of United. Come fly our friendly skies.
Tomorrow on the Channel 5 News at 4:30.
They're cool and popular, even with the hottest stars. But how do they work? Can sports drinks really enhance your athletic performance? Plus, making sense out of sense. Perfumes can be potent and pricey, but for almost every signature scent, there's an imposter. Can you tell them apart? Now, how do you feed an Olympic-sized appetite? At 4:30, meet the chef that prepares meals for athletes on the go.
Tomorrow on the Channel 5 News at 4:30, committed to Chicago.
The drying out process is going well for flood-damaged businesses in downtown Naperville. Shops, businesses, and restaurants have reopened following the cleanup from floods of nearly 2 weeks ago. Some are surprised at the speed of the recovery. The teamwork of area merchants is credited with getting the job done. Time now for tonight's Olympic postcard, a hello back home from Chicagoans in Atlanta for the 1996 Summer Games.
Hi, I'm Terry Rosenberger, and this is Kristen and Kevin and Renee Wolf, and we're here from Chicago to see the Olympics in Centennial Plaza.
I'm Norma. And I'm Sarita. And we're from Elgin. We're here to see the dream team. Yeah, Olympics 96. Go USA!
Hi, I'm Bob Nell from Lincoln Park, and this is my roommate.
Hi, I'm Dan. We're here to see the International Spectacle.
And the dream team take the gold medal home this year.
And join us tonight on the Channel 5 News at 10 following the Olympics. We'll bring you the latest on a Waukegan mother's mission to bring her missing son home from California. It's been a day filled with ups and downs, but tonight Andrea Lewis shares with us her latest hope for finally getting Aaron home. We'll see you after the games.
This has been a Channel 5 Olympic News Break. Stay tuned for the Channel 5 News after the Olympics.
Imagine a world without limits, where anything is possible. AT&T believes communication can help make it happen. Because when people communicate, there's no limit to what they can do. That's why we'll never stop designing features and innovations that make your family life a little easier, a little better.
We bring good things to life, and that's a good thing, all right.
From Atlanta, Georgia, these are the Centennial Olympic Games.
And these are aerial shots of Centennial Olympic Park, reopened at 10 a.m. Atlanta time this morning. There's the fountain, which has been such a popular gathering place, children loving to run through it and get some relief from the heat. And as you see, huge crowds, and apparently it's not just children. Looks like a lot of college-age folks gathering in that fountain. Centennial Olympic Park reopening, and the crowds have been large. Now here's an update on the gold medal game in women's softball in Columbus, Georgia, top of the sixth. U.S. leading 3-0 China with a runner on first base. And Liu Chow will deliver a double here off the base of the fence, and it sets up runners at second and third with 2 out. So it's the best scoring chance for the Chinese team. And the U.S. leading 3-0 with 2 innings to go in the game makes a pitching change. Michelle Granger, who had done very well, goes out, and Lisa Fernandez comes in. Her first delivery, though, is, as you'll see here, a wild pitch. And Chang Chun Fang scores from third, makes it 3-1 U.S. The other runner moves up to third with 2 outs. But Fernandez gets out of the inning without allowing another run. And then, in the 7th, Fernandez gets the side in order, ending it here with a strikeout. She struck out 3 of the 4 hitters she faced. The U.S. wins it over China 3-1 for the gold medal. Pretty clearly the best team in the world. But in the 2 years leading up to the Olympics, they have blown everybody away with the exception of a single defeat, 1-0 against China. Here at the Olympics, they had some tough games. Australia beat them in extra innings. Canada played them close. China was a formidable opponent, but the U.S. was able to make it through. Dot Richardson and company claimed that first gold medal ever awarded in women's Olympic softball, 3-1 tonight. Coming up next on the Olympic buffet, mountain biking. A little history here. Cycling has been part of the modern games. since their inception in 1896. And now this new edition, we take you to the hills and trails at the Georgia International Horse Park, the women's mountain biking event. Phil Liggett, Greg LeMond, and Al Troutwig to cover it.
When it comes to the Olympic debut of mountain biking, these games are an equal opportunity employer. Today, it's the women, on the job for years, but never with a gold medal waiting at the bottom of the hill. From Canada comes Alison Sider. She is precise, tough, and powerful. And when it comes to this red Georgian course, it is said that combination of skills is perfect. Julie Furtado is a bit of an American sensation, and one of the reasons the sport has grown. But in big races, she's often been small, and she'll tell you an Olympic medal can legitimize everything she's done. Switzerland's Sylvia First has a name that fits. Italy's Pezzo looks for a keepsake, while the USA's Susan Di Mattei hopes to use the home advantage to gain something special herself. But barring something unexpected, it's really Sider versus Furtado. And the only simple thing is, first one to the finish line wins. 20 years ago in '76, the first mountain bike race was held in California. Today, the sport came to the Olympic Games. Now, no one's quite sure what happens to a mountain biker who wins a medal because there's no precedence. But 40,000 coming to see it easily confirms it's the biggest thing ever for whoever it is. At the Georgia International Horse Park, they will be mountain mobile.
At 29, Julie Furtado has been a world champion, but not for 6 years. Instead, since 1991, her best finished 6th, and 3 times she's failed to make it. She has been and still is the best. It's proving it, which is becoming more difficult. Canada has few champions, but Alison Sider is one, and without doubt, the target for all today. Paolo Pezzo has concentrated on a gold medal. She's taken the calculated risk of the championship or nothing. If consistency brings reward, then Susan Di Mattei can expect to race among the elite today.
In these woods, an hour from Atlanta, 29 bikers from 19 countries will go almost 20 miles with moderate climbs on a course that doesn't give you a break at any point. The 6 visits they'll make to the steeplechase portion of the course, left by equestrian, may be the toughest. Twice a lap, the thick, soggy grass will make pedaling to cover ground a draining experience. That's a mental and physical drain. 90 degrees, humid, a combination of intriguing environmental factors at the start.
Dash for the woods, always crucial in any race, but now it's an Olympic gold medal at stake. Alison Sider has made the entry first. She's chased by the women from France. No sign yet of Julie Furtado. Paolo Pezzo is there. And Furtado is slightly off the pace. Trails through the woods is defying anybody to challenge them. Sider was doing it well, and right on her tail, Laurence Leboucher of France. Furtado was cutting away through the field. The leaders were establishing, and there was only 2 miles covered at this point. So far, it was all Alison Sider. Julie Furtado was having to fight back from a very poor start. She was making ground.
Some fans who just wanted to be at the Olympics maybe don't know her. American, number 28. What's she all about? The purpose of scars, and there appears to be one, is to tell you a little of what's gone on. The Earth's got plenty, and Julie Furtado navigates her way through, over, up, and down them with plenty of her own. The first ones you see, the visible ones, take her back to the bad memories of not making the '88 Olympics as a skier.
After, God, maybe my 2nd or 3rd knee surgery, when it started to dawn on me that maybe I couldn't do this for a career and for a future, it was really hard leaving the sport.
At 15, she left home, fleeing a mother whose divorce had made her all too dependent on her successful daughter. A hidden scar.
I think what was so hard about growing up is my mom kind of lived her life through me and didn't have a lot of friends, didn't date, was real bitter towards my dad about the whole divorce, and just took a lot of it out on me, and so I kind of distanced myself from her.
Julie sought refuge far away and a mile high in the mountains of Colorado, looking for big Band-Aids to cover the scars and offer a new beginning. Biking offered one solution, and she was quickly good at that. But her new life was still tainted by the unresolved, though not for long. Her mother changed all that and committed suicide.
There was a lot of guilt to go through, and actually our family came together nice for the first time ever. And that was good. So there's some positive things about it, but it was hard, and it still is hard.
It is amazing the routes we take to find our destinies, and this is Julie Furtado's, alone amidst the scars of every kind. Toughened up to survive, she dealt with the good, the bad, the guilt, and the moment she finally has.
The Olympics are just so special because you're representing your country, and there's all these other sports going on, and you're just part of the bigger picture. Just to be able to stand on the podium and watch the flag being raised, because that, I mean, always gave me goosebumps.
Alison Sider is still in the lead, but Julia Furtado has taken 2.5 miles. She's now reached her side. She's up to second, but it's been a struggle. Two rivals, a front and Olympic field behind them. It's early days. There's still a long way to go.
October.
So I hear he's moving to the corner office.
How's he do it?
I don't know.
Yesterday, he spent an hour with some life insurance guy. That's good time management?
Well, Winters gave the agent his name.
Winters, as in CEO?
Mm-hmm.
How's he do it?
Have you heard from the quiet company? Northwestern Mutual Life.
I throw a 9-pound shot put 51 feet. I bench press 155 pounds. I jump further than all but 128 men in the world. I have red toenails.
From the beginning, you had it in you. The courage, persistence, and determination to take the first step. Now the same strength and endurance you started with leads you here. Legs is proud to support the women of the 1996 U.S. Olympic team in this, our 25th anniversary year.
College football tradition, college football pride. College football's best-known team is home on NBC. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish, led by star quarterback Ron Paulus, will once again be in the hunt for #1. See the Irish as they battle national powerhouses, including Ohio State and Washington. This fall, Notre Dame football is home on NBC.
The early bumpy miles of the women's mountain bike race, heading to a total of 20. Alison Sider of Canada leads the way.
Sider in front of Juliana Furtado, a steady regrouping at the top. The sound of brakes. The first favorite has hit the dust. Paola Pezzo of Italy is down on the floor. The Italian has an injured knee, but the urgency is to remount and try and rejoin a race which is already in a decisive phase.
Alison Sider had company she expected and was familiar with. That would be Julie Furtado. She was a road cyclist. Good at it, too. Won a bronze medal in the World Championships. But all the attention burned her out. So Alison Sider sought out the challenge of mountain biking and some new sponsorship opportunities that go along with that. She got something else, too. A rivalry where she was always one step behind American Julie Furtado, who was casting a large shadow in the sport. It was always Furtado, then Sider, never the other way. It made Furtado the queen of the sport, the center of attention, number one.
She definitely set the pace a few years ago, and you know, a number of us have worked very hard to close the gap, and you know, occasionally we come out ahead of her.
Then in 94 and 95, Allison won back-to-back world titles.
It's just been a gradual progression, you know, a lot of hard work, and our results never have jumped dramatically, just improved steadily throughout the years, and it's just been a matter of a lot of work, a lot of race experience, and just trying to figure out, you know, how to be the best mountain biker I can be.
The rivalry status is no secret now. There's been a reversal. And until further notice, it's Sider, then Furtado. Further notice, of course, could come in a race as big as this one today.
So Alison Sider is dictating the pace, and Julie Furtado must follow it at the moment. Sider at 29, she's never finished worse than 5th in the World Championship since 1991. Furtado doesn't have the same confidence.
Paola Pezzo is trying everything to recatch the leaders. Was it a gear problem from the crash, a rhythm she couldn't regain, or just faster and easier to run? That would be legal, but effective? That remains to be seen.
So Alison Sider was pulling away a small elite group and trying to tag on the back the second American rider, Susan DiMattei. They continued to scramble to try and catch up with a train that was breaking away, and Paolo Pezzo was still trying to get on board. So a relentless pursuit was resulting in a regrouping at the front. Paolo Pezzo was back with the leaders.
They uncovered many ancient artifacts in the area of the course, and as they surged over the so-called Georgia slip rock, these 11 women showed they didn't want to be a relic of the race. They were important in it and very much alive on the changing terrain. Julie Furtado is still right up there using up her fuel, which in the morning of a race is coffee only. She has it shipped home from Pete's of Berkeley. A friend said she has 3 indulgences: her dog, racing, and coffee, even when the Olympics can give you the effect of caffeine by itself.
Furtado had to ride hard to catch up with Sider in the first place. Now Sider was still setting the pace, and Furtado was slowly falling back. Showing the skills of a mountain biker extraordinaire, Alison Sider picked her way down the trails. Furtado would not give up. She was trying to follow her bitter rival.
The Americans still had 2 members in the lead group, Julie Furtado and Susan DiMattei. 15 miles to go.
And, of course, we'll go back to the biking in a bit, but still to come, more diving, the women's springboard, and more from the Champions Gala at Gymnastics. But when we come back, what's in the immediate offing is the Enberg moment. American decathlete Dan O'Brien, who starts his competition tomorrow, is the subject.
When cars pull up to a stop sign, do they check each other out? Do they admire the way the other cars move? Wonder what's under the hood? Do they fantasize about the Aurora, long for a dual overhead cam V8? Or do they just think, yow?
Gripping, says the New York Times. Rolling Stone raves stirring, compelling, and Pat Collins calls it an emotional firestorm.
I hope they burn in hell!
A Time to Kill, rated R. Now playing.
This is the most advanced case of permanent surprise I've ever seen. What caused it. It's the new reduced fat Doritos.
They do taste surprisingly good.
We'll do everything we can, Chuck. We're doctors.
New reduced fat Doritos tortilla chips. Surprisingly good.
My hair was totally fried. Infusium made a difference like that.
Infusium 23 leave-in treatment corrects, restores, structurizes damaged hair. After one use, hair looks healthier.
It feels great.
Infusium 23, the leave-in you'll believe in.
If you think you're sensitive to climate, consider what your strawberries and steaks must be going through. We did when redesigning our refrigerators. You see, different foods have different needs, so you'll find adjustable temperature and humidity controls for separate compartments. Now your foods can stay fresher, longer. Shouldn't you consider the brand that's already at work in over 1 out of 2 homes in America? Kenmore. Come see the innovative side of Sears.
NBC Saturdays this fall. Long held captive, a special child.
Where's my mom and dad?
His unique mind secretly used to build weapons.
How many people died because of what I thought of?
Now, a renegade genius intends to make things right.
I can be anything I want to be.
For everyone he can.
You saved a life.
The center wants him alive.
Preferably.
Saturdays this fall. He's more than one hero. He's the Pretender. NBC Saturdays this fall.
Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile retailers bring you Dick Enberg's Moments.
Well, Dick, track and field has the night off, but they're right back at it tomorrow, including one of the defining events of any Olympics.
Well, it's my favorite, Bob, the decathlon beginning tomorrow. The decathlon, considered, if you will, how difficult this classic event is. 10 different disciplines, 10 different techniques, 10 different demands. No wonder the one man who finishes best will be heralded as the world's greatest athlete. And the favorite here in Atlanta is from the U.S. Dan O'Brien is desperately trying to sleep tonight. The 3-time decathlon world champion needs his rest, but it won't be easy. 7 years of his life are set for the start of competition. Tomorrow morning, a 48-hour day begins. 10 events, 2 days. An exhausting test to see who is most complete. It's a competition that has helped this 30-year-old become complete as an athlete and as a man. 10 varied events. To earn the Olympic decathlon gold medal, an athlete must master every one. In fact, the decathlon defines the Olympic motto: faster, higher, stronger. O'Brien was adopted at age 2. He has never met his biological mother or father, and despite his Oregon schoolboy athletic success, only one university, Idaho, recruited him. There, he was academically ineligible for his first 3 college years. He has battled through the depths of depression. His decathlon talent saved him from drowning in substance abuse. O'Brien has studied the proud American tradition in the decathlon, admiring the high qualities of the champions before him. 1948, Bob Mathias was only 17 when he won the first of back-to-back decathlons. O'Brien credits him for teaching the rest of us how to do it. Milt Campbell he praises as the most inspirational. And the best athlete of modern decathletes, Rafer Johnson. Cerebral Bill Toomey he lauds as the intellectual artist. And Bruce Jenner, the man most driven. Jenner is the last American to earn the title 20 years ago in Montreal. Jenner said that as he stood on the podium, he flashed through the greats that won before: Thorpe, Mathias, Rafer, men of athletic immortality, the world's greatest athletes. Dan O'Brien wants to create his own history, to pave his own road, one that doesn't end with just a gold medal, but with the additional goal of a 9,000-point world record that the future will have to chase. That would confirm those who feel he is the best ever. But only if he wins an Olympic gold medal will the title world's greatest athlete be his. Only then will he advance from the best current decathlete to be recognized as a member of history's elite. O'Brien has dominated this event in the 90s, winning the last 3 world championships. But in 1992, he failed to clear any pole vault height at the Olympic trials. It was traumatic, a simple miscalculation that cost him any chance of Olympic glory. And years of nightmare nights. Videos of that failure have been his constant inspiration. Just weeks after Barcelona, he did compete in France and established the current world record. That was the beginning of a new 4 years of punishing training. Tomorrow's crowd of 85,000 at Olympic Stadium will be a shocking contradiction to Dan O'Brien's lifestyle. His long years of training have been while almost entirely alone, only his coaches as companions. He knows when he walks out of the Olympic tunnel tomorrow, it'll be unlike any other experience, and he admits it could be scary. Still, O'Brien is favored to win. The key to most of the 10 events in the decathlon is speed, O'Brien's strength. He knows the decathlon is athletic history's standardized test, an opportunity to compete against all the track and field achievements that have preceded him. Now he focuses on his first event. In 2 days, if he wins, Dan O'Brien will become a symbol of these entire Olympic Games. Tonight, he'll toss and turn, and he'll dream of being the world's greatest athlete. Boy, this is a delicious event. And for Dan O'Brien, the 4th event tomorrow, the high jump, we talked to other decathlete champions of yesteryear, and they said that could be troublesome because you're aggressive, you may get under the bar, not clear your height. And then, of course, the pole vault's the second day. That's the one that knocked him out of the trials. And he despises the 1,500 meters that finishes the competition, and he better have a big lead before the 1,500 if he wants to win gold.
You know, you mentioned something here, though, that distinguishes the Olympics, as we mentioned a few days ago, from everything else. No matter how crushing the defeat or disappointment, in most of the other sports that Americans follow avidly, you get another chance, and you get it fairly quickly. Even though he's won all those world championships and established the world records, people, by and large, don't pay attention outside the Olympics. He's had to nurse this hurt and this frustration for 4 years.
Oh, the stakes are really huge starting tomorrow.
Okay, we'll be looking forward to it. Thanks, Dick. Let's turn now from tomorrow's track to tonight's diving, women's springboard diving, as we go back to Cynthia Potter and Dan Hicks.
And the standings after 1 of 5 preliminary dives, the Chinese, as expected, at the top. They are 1-2. In fact, they're tied. Irina Lashko of Russia is in 3rd. Jenny Kime of the United States in 8th after her first dive, and Melissa Moses in 13th. And the second round dive for Annie Peltier of Canada, 22 years old, competing in her very first Olympics, but impressive after her first dive. She's in 4th place.
She's extremely impressive. Everybody knows that she is capable of diving with the best in the world. So she hasn't demonstrated that yet in a world-class competition, except on the 1 meter. And of course, this is 3 meter. Oh, and that's what I'm talking about. She has this high degree of difficulty list, extremely capable. She comes to the Olympic Games, does a back 2.5 somersault and lands almost on her stomach. Look at how far she over-rotates right there. Huge splash, way over-rotated with an arch in her back. So unfortunate for somebody quite talented.
Very low scores for Peltier of Canada on her second dive. She should fall a long way from 4th place. Hoping to move up is Melissa Moses of the United States in 13th after her first dive. Started diving when she was 16 at that time, was forced to retire from gymnastics by injury. She about had all the injuries you could possibly have in that sport, and has even had nagging injuries continue here in the sport of diving.
Absolutely. She's had a pulled groin this whole past week and has been taped up until today. It's a back 2.5 somersault top. It's just slightly arched going in the water, but these are her favorite dives, the back and reverse 2.5, whereas most women fear these dives. But she loves these because she spots the water well, knows right where she is in the air. She wants to see the score. She loves to compete.
And good marks for Melissa Moses. Definitely an improvement from her first dive, and her face tells the story. A like Moses, Jenny Kime, also a former gymnast. She was training with Bella Caroli until a stress fracture in her back forced her retirement at age 8. Doctors recommended she find a new sport, and she switched to diving when her back healed.
Question on whether her back is entirely healed, because she has not been practicing a good deal this past week because of her back. She's been suffering. That's her mother, CJ.
Dad, Steve, in the stands.
She really has had a tough time getting in and practicing because her back has been so sore. And her roommate, Melissa Moses, has had a pulled groin. Oh, that's a nice dive. A back 1.5 somersault with 2.5 twists. The only thing I see is that Jenny's feet come forward there just a little bit before she takes off the diving board. So she had a little bit of a crow hop, one of the things that a lot of the Chinese divers used to do.
Solid scores for Jenny Kime of the United States with 3 dives left in these prelims. Fu Ming Sha, the gold medalist a few weeks before her 14th birthday in Barcelona, won the gold medal here the other night in Atlanta, and has her sights set on a sweep of the diving events. And she is at a tie for first place with her teammate Tan Shu Ping after 1 dive.
And her coach, Yu Fin, told me that she has never really been injured. Unlike the Americans I just talked about, Jenny Kime and Melissa Moses having back problems and groin problems.
It's a blessing.
But I think that that's one of the reasons why Fu Ming Sha has been able to dive both boards. This is not a good dive. She totally missed the takeoff. Look at where her feet land on the board. Way back, not on the end. And this is the most difficult dive she does. She can't afford to be back from the end of the board, or she goes in on her stomach just like this. You have to be right on the tip of the diving board where it's most flexible to do this dive.
Uncharacteristic low scores for Fu Ming Sha, and she trails both Americans now, Jenny Kime and Melissa Moses. Well, her teammate Tan Shu Ping hoping to fare better on her second dive.
This is a 2.5 somersault with 1 twist, a very gymnastic dive. Pretty good dive. I say pretty good because it's not vertical. I call it mediocre, to tell you the truth, because when she goes after this dive, she needs a lot of angular momentum. She needs more somersault in order not to go short on the dive. It still works out fairly well, but in order to get 7s, she needs to complete the dive higher off the water so that she can get ready to go in it sooner.
Still a much better dive that her teammate Fu Ming Sha, and Tan Shu Ping takes over the lead for the moment. And if it does seem like forever since Irina Lashko of Russia has been competing, it has been a long time. We mentioned her being 4th on the 3-meter in the 88 games in Seoul. She was just 15 years old then, so 8 years later now, 23, and her place after the first round in 3rd.
This is one of her lower degree of difficulty dives. It's a forward 2.5 somersault pike. The Chinese are doing a 3.5 somersault, so they add a somersault. But what's important is that if you can't do the harder dive proficiently, you shouldn't take the risk necessarily. And Fu Ming Sha did not do it well. Irina Lashko does a forward 2.5 somersault beautifully here. Look at this height that she gets off the diving board. The hurdle is so beautiful. She goes in the water, and the last thing the judges see is almost no splash and a beautiful toe point.
There is a gracefulness to the Russian divers, and high score is turned in by Lashko, and she takes over the top spot over Tan Shu Ping. So as we take a look at the standings after 2 of 5 dives in the preliminaries, the story after 2 is the Russians at the top. Lashko and Elena occupy the 1-2 positions. Tan Shu Ping of China is 3rd, but Shu Ping's teammate Fu Ming Sha slipped all the way down to 13th. Melissa Moses of the United States is 6th, and Jenny Kime is in 4th.
NBC's coverage of the Centennial Olympic Games is brought to you by Bell South, sponsor of the U.S. Olympic team and the Atlanta Olympic Games. And by Delta Airlines, the official airline of the 1996 Olympic Games.
The genuine Coca-Cola bottle, preferred by everyone.
I can't believe he's an Olympic winner.
Hurry up, he'll be here soon. Johnny Harris won.
You can be an Olympic winner, too, playing McDonald's when the U.S. wins you win game.
You won at Atlanta?
No, McDonald's.
Buy selected favorites like Arch Deluxe, and you can win big prizes instantly. Trips, $1 million.
Here he comes.
Or a new Pontiac Grand Prix.
Yeah, I brought home a dose for you, baby.
Oh, yeah. Get into McDonald's and get into the game.
So, he won a medal?
The people of the South have always had a love affair with communication. So it isn't surprising that these Olympic Games are happening right here, in the home of the company whose telecommunications system is powerful enough to make these the first Olympic Games of the new information age. Bell South, the communications company with its roots in the South, but its reach to the world.
Somewhere, absolutely nothing is on TV. The Isuzu Trooper, a standing 2-ton reminder that the world is large and TV waves don't reach everywhere.
NBC's coverage of the Centennial Olympic Games is brought to you by Coca-Cola. Cheering is thirsty work. Always for the fans. Always Coca-Cola.
Welcome back. Last night, Michael Johnson entered the track and field competition as the headliner. His attempt at the unprecedented 200-400 double had been well publicized, of course. Johnson did get his gold in the 400-meter final, but he had to share the evening spotlight with a 35-year-old who has long saved his greatest performances for the biggest moments. Here's Tom Hammond.
Olympic Stadium empty and quiet, in stark contrast to the scene here last night. In this job, we're sometimes privileged to be present at special moments, times when sport actually lives up to its promise. Last night was one of those moments. The United States won 4 gold medals yesterday. Each one significant. The day's final medal was awarded in the long jump. It was won by Carl Lewis. We live in an age that demands hyperbole, the common manufactured into the extraordinary. What is truly remarkable often is overlooked until viewed through the lens of time. The United States won 4 gold medals yesterday. One of them was won by Carl Lewis. Carl Lewis has been able to overcome everything except the barrier between him and the American public. Perhaps he was too talented. Perhaps the 8 gold medals came too easy.
Oh, and a great jump by Lewis.
Perhaps he was too self-assured.
What about the world record? Yes! Yes!
But somehow, being the best there ever was, wasn't good enough.
When a person comes along like I did and comes from nowhere and wins everything, it's hard for a lot of people to accept. Because when you sit there and you watch the talent And even to me, it was strange watching some of the things I did. I almost couldn't believe some of the performances. It's hard to believe that somebody can have that kind of talent, step out on that track. Seems like everything they do, it's right. They win every race. They're so dominant, and they're so confident, and they're only 22 years old. I don't think it's easy for anyone to relate to that.
Olympic Stadium last night, 7:20 p.m. Carl Lewis stood at the top of the runway, ready for his first attempt in the gold medal round of the men's long jump. The favorite, Ivan Pedroso, 23 years old, the world champion, a product of the Cuban sports machine. The world record holder, America's Mike Powell, his career spent in Lewis's shadow. Lewis, three-time gold medalist in the event, his first attempt. Lewis mistimes his steps and runs through the pit. 35 years old, well past the twilight of his career. Most of the 82,000 in the stands have come not to watch Lewis win his 9th gold medal, but to pay their respects, to close the book on a career that has shown many faces. The early ones, sometimes abrasive.
I could really be worth $100 million. And of course I could be worth millions. Everyone says that. I can't see a failure in me. I think I'm as talented, if not more, as anybody out there. Turn that off. Turn it off.
So many years, so many faces. Last night, America may have found the one it can finally embrace.
I'm not going to sit here and say that I was absolutely perfect, but I'm not going to dissect what I did, which was right or wrong, because I did some good and bad things. But I've learned from that, and I've corrected a lot of the things that I've done throughout my life. And I still try to go in and be the best that I can be, and I don't look back and say, I shouldn't have done that. I just look back and say, what can we do better?
Houston, Texas, Lewis's home. Now, with temples graying, he endures the hardest training of his career. These will be his final Olympic Games. Lewis now prepares for his third jump in the gold medal round. Those assembled may have come to write his epitaph, but Lewis has come to compete. The previous evening, long jump qualifying round. Lewis down to his final jump, facing the end of his Olympic career. He vaults from 15th to first place. He makes the finals. After 2 rounds, Lewis is in third place as he sets for his next attempt. Powell, the world record holder, knows Lewis has put forth a strong effort. Lewis leaps 27 feet, 10 3/4 inches. Carl Lewis is now in first place. Disappointment for the Cuban world champion. Ivan Pedroso will not match Lewis's effort. For Mike Powell, injured in his previous attempt, his evening and career have come to this. His one final chance to beat Lewis in the Olympic Games. One last chance to escape the shadow.
Last year's World Championships representing the USA. Dr. Buford Bailey. Ladies up, representing Belarus, 1991 World Champion, 1988 Olympic silver medalist. And the reigning national record holder of Ireland.
On this night, no one will beat Carl Lewis. He wins the long jump for the 4th consecutive time. It is his 9th gold medal. Some tales defy the lens of time. Yesterday, Carl Lewis won a gold medal. There is one remaining issue. Should Carl Lewis be on America's 4x100 relay team? Joined by Craig Masback and by Dwight Stones. Dwight, should last night have been Carl's final Olympic appearance?
Tom, I don't believe so. Carl Lewis has meant so much to the U.S. track and field program over the last 12 years. He is the greatest legend we have in track and field. These Atlanta Games were supposed to be the greatest promotional tool for track and field in this country. If they are going to really, truly promote the sport properly and make it popular here in this country, they've got to put the poster boy of track and field on that relay team so he can get a 10th gold medal.
Craig, what do you think? Did the U.S. coaches make the right decision leaving Carl off the team?
Well, Tom, if the system for choosing the relay team had been a strictly objective one, in other words, the top 4 from the Olympic trials final, then it wouldn't be a problem saying, okay, Carl's not on it. He was 8th in that final. But Coach Irv Hunt has said from the beginning he wants an experienced team, and he's shown his cards by choosing Leroy Burrell, 6th in the Olympic trials final, to be on that team, at least the team he's proposed thus far. Carl Lewis has more experience than anyone. How could you not choose him? And in May, Coach Irv Hunt said to the San Francisco Chronicle, if Carl Lewis makes the Olympic trials final in the 100 meters, I'm going to put him on that relay team. Now he's hedging that. There have been some communications problems. I think it's time for him to go back to that original philosophy.
Well, if Carl is added to the team, it'll have to be done quickly. Entries for the relay have to be submitted by Thursday morning. Bob?
All right, Tom, thanks a lot. Regardless of what any of us think, and with no disrespect intended to Leroy Burrell or any other competitor, it would be a supremely dramatic moment if Carl Lewis wound up with that baton in his hand, blazing down that straightaway one last time to win the gold in the relay and win an unprecedented 10th career Olympic gold medal. It would be a wonderful moment, and it would seem that Lewis is up to the task, that the relay team would lose nothing by adding him in terms of their medal prospects. But regardless of what you folks at home might think or any of us here might think, it does not appear likely that it will happen. When we come back, we'll have an interview with Dot Richardson and the medal ceremony for women's softball. The USA defeating China, winning gold tonight. We'll return with that in a bit.
Now, a brief on the Olympic Games from Haynes.
The first Olympians had strength, courage, and spirit. What they didn't have was clothes. Maybe that's why coming in first was so important.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Think if they had Haynes back then, they could have enjoyed Haynes' style and comfort and been spared the embarrassment of finishing second or third.
All rise for the national anthem.
Thank you. I'm Michael Jordan, and you've been briefed.
Why is everyone so excited about Motorola StarTech cellular phone?
You talking to me?
It's the smallest and lightest cellular phone in the world.
It's got everything.
I call this the smart button, and it can scroll through my whole phone book.
Push the button, and it'll dial it automatically.
Can ring or vibrate.
You want to see it?
I can't even see the battery.
What other phone can you wear like this? Motorola. I mean, who else could have done it?
StarTech, the world's smallest, lightest cellular phone.
How they did it, I'll never know.
Motorola, what you never thought possible.
Everybody sees things in a different light. New Kodak Advantix film and cameras with IX record light information in a whole new way to make automatic adjustments for backlight, indoor light, and flash, so your pictures can be the best you've ever taken in just about any light. Kodak's advanced photo system, Kodak Advantix, take pictures further.
We're out of here. No, please keep your hands in the cart. We'll come back for that later. That one needs batteries. You're going to get Daddy in trouble. Excuse me? No, that one definitely has too many parts. We got to go.
Tomorrow night, one hurdle blocked Barcelona double gold. Now 100-meter champion Gail Devers is within reach of that historic double gold again. Plus, Dan O'Brien finally starts his quest to be Olympic decathlon champion and the world's greatest athlete. Platform champion Fu Ming Shaw looks to become the first woman in 36 years to master diving's double. That's all tomorrow night, early 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on NBC.
Okay, here's what's coming up. More mountain biking, the Champions Gala from Gymnastics, the Dream Team, the quarterfinal against Brazil, more diving, the women's springboard. But right now, let's get back to the U.S. women's softball story. They won the gold tonight by beating China 3-1. Here are some of the highlights from that game. Starting in the top of the third, no score. China with runners on first and third. They attempt a double steal. Dot Richardson will fire home to Gillian Botts, and the runner is called out. It's a beautiful play, but perhaps the Americans got a break here, as the replay shows Botts trying to block the plate. The tag may have been late. In any case, the runner was called out, still scoreless. Bottom of the third, and Richardson will lift one down the line and right, and it's gone. A two-run home run, giving the U.S. a 2-0 lead. It's Dot's third home run in the Olympics, tying her for the team lead with Sheila Cornell. The Chinese, meanwhile, with the assistance of interpreters, argued that the ball was foul. The game was delayed 10 minutes, and China wound up playing the game under protest. As Richardson celebrates at home plate, the replay will clearly show that the ball was fair. The call was correct. It lands inside the foul pole. Now, as the game winds down, as you can imagine, this is a very difficult moment for the team from China. Quite a different scene on the American side. They're on their feet in anticipation of the last out. The overflow crowd chanting for the USA. Lisa Fernandez, in relief of Michelle Granger, gets the last out. Fittingly, it's a strikeout. Team USA, in the first year of Olympic competition in softball, wins the gold medal. The final score over a very good team from China, 3-1. All the players embracing. There's Dot Richardson embracing the head coach of Team USA, Ralph Raymond. And then a bit later, the Americans will take a victory lap around Golden Park. Quite a moment for them. Nobody leaving their seats except to stand for the ovation. And then just a few minutes ago in Columbus, the gold medals were awarded to the United States team, and the anthem was played. No emotions held back at the end of this game tonight. The United States had pretty well blown away all pre-Olympic competition. They'd won more than 100 games with only one defeat in a 2-year stretch. It was a 1-0 loss against China, the team they beat tonight, for the gold medal. In this tournament, they faced some stiff competition. Canada played them tough. Australia beat them in a bizarre extra inning game. They played 3 games against China. They won them all, but all those games were tough and hard fought. And tonight, they emerged with a 3-1 victory. And now we go out live to Columbus, Georgia, and Dot Richardson has the earpiece and the microphone, so she's really the only one we can talk to. But as you see, she's surrounded by all of her teammates. Dot, give them all a big cheer and give us an idea of who's around you there.
Oh my gosh, Bob, America, here's your gold medalist.
And I'm sure for Lisa Fernandez, for Michelle Granger, for all the rest, it's a wonderful moment. But maybe most of all for you. You were the player of the decade in collegiate softball in the 1980s, but at 34 years old, you're the oldest player on the team. You give up your medical practice for a year. You'd completed 3 of 5 years of residency at the USC Medical Center. You give it all up because finally softball becomes an Olympic sport. So this is the end of a very long journey for you.
Oh, it's been a long journey, but definitely worth it. You're looking right here at what the dream is all about. We're so excited. Yeah. I wouldn't trade this moment for anything. All of us are just so excited. Everyone played their hearts out.
Were you and your teammates surprised by how tough some of the teams were? Australia, Canada, China.
Well, we weren't surprised because there's 101 countries that play our sport now. Everyone is getting stronger and stronger, which is great. And it's just good to be on top. We knew it was going to be a fight, and we did it. We never gave up.
You know, softball has not been certified as an Olympic sport for Sydney, Australia yet, although I'm pretty sure it will be back. The popularity of it here speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Oh, it's been awesome. Listen to everybody.
Well, we get the idea.
Yeah, but Bob,
yeah.
I want to introduce everybody, but this is Julie Smith, second base. It's Krista Williams, Lisa Fernandez, who's through the end here. This is Michelle Smith, Michelle Granger, who fired a great game today. This is Vegas, Lori Harrigan. Oh, this is our big power, Kim Marr. And this is Shelley Stokes, Leo O'Brien, Gillian Bach, their catcher, Sheila Cornell, who ripped up all this tournament. This is Laura Berg. We call her rookie. She was hitting great. And our coach, head coach Ralph Raymond.
Thank you very much, Dot. Happy New Year, Bob.
Yeah, and also we got Ralph Weekly, and our other assistant coach, Margie Wright.
You know,
Dion Harris from Delaware is not here at this moment. Are we missing him else? And Danny Tyler.
You know, I guess Ralph Raymond is entitled to celebrate any way he'd like, but exactly what New Year might it be?
What New Year might it be, Ralph? Do you want to celebrate a New Year?
This year, there are very few and far between now for me, Bob.
I see.
And I'll take every one that comes along.
Well, this should be one of the happiest of his 72 years, no doubt about it. Dot, how long before you're back practicing medicine? We've heard 36 hours, 3 days, but it's pretty soon, right?
Well, actually, I leave tomorrow morning. My flight's at 12 o'clock out of Atlanta to L.A., and I start meeting my patients. I start work on Thursday.
12-hour sleep, that is.
I read that you actually kept some of your medical skills sharp, if that's the word, by assisting on some procedures at a hospital in Columbus, Georgia, during the games. True?
Well, it's been great. The Houston Clinic here in Columbus, 5 minutes away from where we stayed, I was able to assist in surgeries, and that kept some of my surgical skills up, and just reading the books when I can and focusing on winning this gold.
When was the last...
Thank you. I have to thank...
Yeah?
I have to thank...
Go ahead.
I have to thank Dr. Pat Zachis. I have to thank L.A. County Hospital, because this never would have happened without them.
Let me ask you this. Does anybody ever call you Dorothy?
Yes, my family calls me Dorothy.
But everybody else calls you Dot, and nobody has tried to make you change your name to Bob since you were a Little League player about 12 years old, and they said, no girls on this team. Call yourself Bob and cut your hair, right?
No one else has asked me to be called Bob.
Dot, congratulations, and to you and the two Michelles and Lisa Fernandez, who were so spectacular on the pitching mound. It's a great victory for all of you. Congratulations.
It's a great victory for everybody. Yeah! Thanks, Bob.
Okay.
Thank you, America.
Thank you, Dot.
Thank you, America.
Boy, it's great to see them enjoying it that much, isn't it? Now, we have to make a quick transition from the diamond to the hills. as we go back to mountain biking and again, Liggett and Troutwig.
In the first third of the first ever women's Olympic mountain bike race, Paola Pezzo of Italy actually crashed and literally ran her way back to the leaders. The American favorite, Julie Furtado, was in attacking distance and surprisingly joined in the lead group by a woman who made the team just a month ago, Susan DiMattei.
But the pace, as it had been from the start, was being set by the Canadian world champion, Alison Seidel. Julie Furtado was trying desperately to hang on in there. Furtado, an old rival. Seidel was in the lead. The girl in yellow was Norway's Gunn Rita Dahl. She's a sensation as well.
It's the hottest point of the day, and the lead group, which was once 11, has been almost cut in half. Then suddenly, on one of those unpredictable bumps, 6 becomes 5.
And then 5 becomes 4. Down goes Norway's Gunn Rita Dahl. Also in trouble, the British hope and champion, Caroline Alexander. A front gear mechanism was smashed. Towards the end of the opening lap, a very select group. Furtado was there, so too was DiMattei. Caroline Alexander was fighting to regain contact. She wouldn't do it.
Alison Seidel looks back to see her old rival, Julie Furtado. She wants to know at every moment exactly where she is. As for what Furtado's thinking about the course,
It's a really bad course for me. I'm much better on long climbs, and this is just a bunch of short climbs that I don't have anaerobic power, so it's going to be a really hard course for me.
if Susan DiMattei making the women's team was a surprise, then the fact that she was in the lead of the women's Olympic mountain bike race was a shock, and so was the sight of Julie Furtado becoming unraveled for the first time in the race.
Furtado has made a big effort, a very big effort to catch the leader, Alison Seidel, but now, having been with her for the best part of 6 miles, she was falling back, while this young lady, Susan DiMattei, was staying up front and looking good for a medal.
Furtado was falling further back and coasting when she could. Not a good sign. Approaching the midway point of the race, Susan DiMattei gets tangled up in the mud, and pulling a Paolo Pezzo runs to get restarted. And taking advantage was Paolo Pezzo, cruising right on by.
Julie Furtado, she was falling further behind now. The pressure was being applied at the front. Paolo Pezzo was going into the lead by herself.
Every cycling race has a moment like this, when someone of stature, which Paolo Pezzo is, decides to make the break. Susan DiMattei's misfortune is her open door. She's a stylish Italian who likes to dress flashy. What a shock. And comes from the small town of Bosco Chiesa in Italy. It is there, as they watch on television, that they say, "Bellissimo, Paolo." The opposite of bellissimo would be spoken in the United States for Julie Furtado, who appears out of it.
Julie Furtado knew at this stage she was being beaten by stronger women on the course. One was Susan DiMattei. She was having a great day on a course designed by her husband-to-be.
Come on, Susan!
Alison Seidel had come to this Olympic Games dreaming only of gold. She was the outstanding favorite, but now she was on the defensive, and Italian was leading the way. Seidel had come to this event from a road racing experience. In 1994, she was the Commonwealth Games road race champion, and she's also been to an Olympic Games as well.
I had experience in a chance to go to the Olympics in '92 in Barcelona for road racing, but you know, then I focused my my cycling efforts on mountain biking, and you know, I made full commitment to the sport of mountain biking, and I never really expected that mountain biking was going to be in the Olympics while I was competing. I knew one day it would be.
Alison Sider was obviously committed to this moment. In something not as glamorous as what Paolo Pezzo did to Susan DiMattei, she passes her on the rise, driven by the fact that Pezzo's only 30 seconds ahead and prone to muscle cramps. This is the type of day where that can happen. As for Susan DiMattei, you could almost hear the American fans thinking, can she possibly hold on to bronze?
Meanwhile, out in front in solitary splendor, Paola Pezzo was taking drinks and riding forth. She was having to survive a long time. Another full lap of the course was still to come.
Everyone who knows their cycling knows what Julie Furtado was. Out of the race, but sticking to it.
And onto the course, completing lap number 2. There are still 6.6 miles to go for Paola Pezzo. She's been the European champion. She's been the world champion. She can now start thinking about being the Olympic champion. And the challenge wasn't coming from Julie Furtado, but from another American, Susan DiMattei.
NBC next Tuesday, a night of moving television.
That's right. Mad About You is moving to Tuesdays. Then, after News, Radio, and Frasier, it's another moving show. Yeah, Caroline in the City moves to Tuesdays, too. Wow. It's one-stop comedy shopping.
Savings are extraordinary, and they have a huge selection.
NBC next Tuesday.
Tomorrow on First Thing in the Morning.
Unbroken spirit, unity, and emotion-filled Centennial Park as thousands remember the victims of the blast. Authorities have several aids, and now the world waits for answers. Then in Health Watch, diseases that women are more prone to get, so why are doctors missing the diagnosis and the symptoms going unnoticed? Tomorrow, some warning signs. And it's a hot attraction here in Atlanta, the Southern cooking that's drawing Olympic-sized crowds.
Tomorrow on First Thing in the Morning, committed to Chicago.
The world recognizes the best athletes with this. You can recognize the best automobiles with this. Ford Windstar, awarded the government's highest 5-star crash protection rating. Higher than Dodge, higher than Chrysler. And now with $1,500 customer cash, it's over $2,800 less than Caravan. It's always easy to recognize the best. Ford Windstar. See your favorite Ford dealer today. Home to 5 of America's top 10 bestsellers. There's more to afford.
We spent so much time working on this, getting it going, and it almost fell apart over who was going to buy the paper clips. We kind of learned the hard way that we just both couldn't do everything. She works on products, new sauces, and I sell. We're in over 200 restaurants now. The big decisions we make together. That's why you have a partner. If I'm laying awake at night, I want to know someone else is too.
It's your life's work. Does your bank understand that?
Get more boombox for your buck. Circuit City. You can't find a lower price. We guarantee it.
They were along the rails of the steeplechase course left from equestrian, and on every twist and turn in the woods of Conyers outside Atlanta. 40,000 people wondering who would be the first mountain biking Olympic champion. Paolo Pezzo was the first face they saw in the final lap.
The 3 chasers were being led by Susan DiMattei of the United States, followed by Alison Sider of Canada, and then came Norway's Gala.
Good girl, Susan. Good girl. Good girl, bottle. Good girl. You're looking great, Susan. There.
Alison Sider pushed on. She was down by 2 minutes, but had the knowledge that in the pre-Olympic race here, there were 11 flat tires on the final lap. Plus, if the heat could take down Julie Furtado, it could certainly do a number on Paolo Pezzo.
Paolo Petzo, though, was showing no signs of effect from the heat or the sun, or indeed making a mistake technically. She was riding this course like she knew every inch of the way. Susan DeMattei, she was on a dream machine today. She hadn't put a wheel wrong. It was all working out for her. She was riding like the Americans should have ridden all week. She was riding with determination. The same couldn't be said of Julie Furtado. Furtado was now in distress. She was no longer a competitor in this race. She was thinking only of survival. Temperature now 91 degrees. The heat was important to everybody. Could they survive it? It seemed the woman from Italy could.
Alison Sider was chipping away at Petzo's lead. What was once 2 minutes was now under, and that was certainly cause for optimism. Anytime a cyclist can maintain a pace that prevents someone from catching up, they're doing their job, and that was Susan DeMattei.
Paolo Petzo was heading for goal now as she approached the finish arena. The full distance was almost behind her, and behind her too by a minute was Alison Sider, the favorite.
And 45 seconds behind her was Susan DeMattei. The medals had been decided.
In the past 6 miles, Sider had closed in by almost a minute, but the move had come too late.
Susan DeMattei could now hear what Petzo and Sider could, the glorious sound of the fans at the finish.
Paolo Petzo arrived in the arena and waves to the crowd, the first Olympic champion of mountain biking among the women. She had covered the course in just short of 2 hours, and for the majority of that time, she'd been alone.
With the gold zipped up, the search for information was on. What exactly happened out there? One thing we found out was that Paolo Petzo was injured in that crash, and even tougher than we thought. There's no doubt that Alison Sider had dreams of gold, but as she came across the finish line, it looked as though she didn't care what color it was. She was 107 behind Petzo, and 38 seconds behind Sider came Susan DeMattei. And if ever a bronze medal looked like a gold, this was it.
Susan DeMattei, face it or not, had been a surprise. She'd ridden her heart out, she'd ridden for the United States, she'd ridden for her husband-to-be, and she got the result.
And you wonder if from her fiancé, the course designer David Wiens, Susan DeMattei didn't get a little secret one night over dinner. Because this wasn't the way it was supposed to end. This was supposed to be the embrace for Julie Furtado at the finish line. But many miles ago, we learned that Julie didn't have what it took to withstand the heat and the pressure of the race today. She said before it began, maybe it would be better if I wasn't the favorite. After this, she may not have that problem for a while. Elsewhere in the American camp was someone as happy as you might expect.
I am absolutely so thrilled, and please, the people here were so great. I mean, it gave me chills when I was riding, and it's really nice to do it here in the USA. I was hot, and a few times I felt like my head was going to explode, but I think everybody did.
I couldn't deal with the heat. The heat just, it killed me. And I tried to come back, but I just about had heat stroke, so I'm really disappointed because I tried to prepare for the heat, and I think my fitness was good because I felt my legs felt great, but then I just, after the first lap, I just thought I was going to explode from the heat.
These are the three names that will always be linked to the premiere, the Olympic beginning of mountain biking. There won't be another first time. Petzo, Sider, and DeMattei. Paolo Petzo's credentials, a former world championship, made this first ever gold cherished, but no surprise. That Julie Furtado's body said no is one. And that's only the first American eye-opener. 4 weeks ago, Susan DiMattei didn't even know if she'd be here. So you really can't say this was a dream. Because, to be honest, she shouldn't have even dared. But she did. And that's what Olympians are made of.
This was one of the warmer days in Atlanta during the Olympic Games, a very, very tough test for those mountain bikers. Right now, we'd like to pause to update developments concerning the bombing in Centennial Olympic Park, and we're joined once again by Tom Brokaw. Tom, what have you got?
Bob, it turns out that there are still no charges tonight against Richard Jewell. He's the private security guard who first spotted the pipe bomb in Centennial Olympic Park Saturday morning and then notified law enforcement. But he does remain the focus of this investigation tonight. He was back in his apartment and he was talking to a lawyer. He returned there after being interviewed tonight by the FBI and was besieged by camera crews from around the world. The 33-year-old former deputy sheriff had been hailed as a hero. And until this evening, all the questions were about his role in keeping more people from being killed. Now, the questions have changed.
Can you categorically say that you did not do this?
I did not do it.
Categorically?
Yes.
Why are they questioning?
Jewell did say he's been interviewed by the FBI 5 separate times since the explosion. But he calls that routine. And his lawyer, Watson Bryant of Atlanta, also denied Jewell as a suspect.
I can tell you that I spoke with Agent Don Johnson of the FBI, who said that Richard Jewell was not a suspect, was not a subject, was not a target. Richard had nothing whatsoever to do with planting this bomb. He had nothing to do with the bomb at all, except being a hero by finding the thing and getting people out of the way. That's all Richard had to do with it. And you guys are really barking up the wrong tree with this. No, I don't think Richard will be arrested.
FBI agents do have his apartment under surveillance tonight, and even though there is no search warrant that we know of, none of the high-level sources that NBC has been talking to is waving us off Mr. Jewell as the focus of this investigation. So, Bob, that's what we know at this hour.
If, for the sake of argument, Mr. Jewell's lawyer is correct and people are barking up the wrong tree and he ultimately is not arrested, they've done him a grave disservice.
And it's going to be acutely embarrassing for the FBI as well. I don't know whether they're going to arrest him tonight. The speculation is that the FBI is close to making the case in their language. They probably have enough to arrest him right now, probably enough to prosecute him, but you always want to have enough to convict him as well. There's still some holes in this case.
So let's assume that that's true, and they do arrest him, and they have enough evidence. Again, for the sake of argument, they arrest him tomorrow or the next day. You might ask, why not wait until then before saying anything publicly? Why toss this guy out there now?
I think one of the reasons that they may be doing this is that there's, in the language of the FBI or in law enforcement, they sweat a guy. And one of the ways that you do that is put the kind of public pressure that he has on him tonight. Now, we have to be absolutely clear that everyone understands he is not yet officially a suspect. He is the focus of this investigation. But this is coming to us from everywhere. Washington, Atlanta, Pete Williams covers the Justice Department. Fred Francis covers everybody down here. They're only using one name tonight, and that's Richard Jewell.
Tom, thanks. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again soon.
Okay, Bob.
And we'll be back here with more of the gymnastics from Atlanta in a few minutes right after your local news, so we'll be back.
Still to come from the Centennial Olympic Games, gymnastics, the Champions Gala continues. A final look at the world's best on a special night. And more diving. China's Fu Mingxia seeks the diving sweep. Just 17, she claimed her second platform title Saturday. Now she's after Olympic springboard gold. NBC's coverage will continue following your local news.
Hey, Jimmy, where have you been?
Jimmy, the NBC Peacock is here to help you with your big move.
You know what happens when you're late. Give me 20.
Jimmy Johnson's made the move to the AFC and the NFL on NBC.
Welcome to Miami.
From the Channel 5 newsroom, this is a Channel 5 Olympic news break.
Hello, I'm Mark Sapelsa. A security guard finds himself back in the spotlight, questioned in the bombing at Centennial Park. Channel 5's Ron Majors has details now from Atlanta.
I'm Ron Majors in Atlanta, where the shocking news of the day is a newspaper account from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution that identifies a security guard on duty the morning of the bomb blast as the possible bomber. The guard is 33-year-old Richard Jewell. Here's what he said when he was informed this afternoon that authorities wanted to talk to him.
I'm sure everyone that works in the area or that came by the area is being investigated. I'm sure there's some newspaper reporters that are being investigated. So they're very thorough. They will do whatever it takes to catch who did it, and I will assist them in any way I can.
Moments later, federal authorities arrived at Jewel's door. There was a conversation. He emerged, got into his own car, and drove away with them. I'm Ron Majors in Atlanta.
Jewel has not been charged in the bombing. He says he didn't do it. The investigation continues. The park Jewel was responsible for protecting reopened this morning. Jazz trumpeter Wynton Marsalis performed for the thousands who gathered to mark the event. Extra security is in place at Centennial Park, but it remains open to the public. Meantime, computer logs show 911 operators were delayed in dispatching emergency crews to the bombing site because they didn't know the park's address. The first 10 minutes taken up finding that address. When crews did arrive, the crowds were being already redirected, supposedly by Jewel. Security is priority one in Chicago. Crews are working to prepare the United Center for next month's Democratic National Convention. The mayor is saying he'll stop at nothing for security.
Terrorism is an unfortunate fact of our modern world, but the experts on our security task force are weighing every contingency to minimize the risks for us and our guests.
The roads around the United Center will be blocked off during the convention. A bomb threat forces a Mexicana Airlines flight headed to Chicago to make an emergency landing, happening this afternoon. Flight 815 landed at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport after a bomb threat was telephoned to police in Guadalajara, Mexico. The plane searched, nothing found. And when we come back, will this rainy weather be clearing anytime soon? Andy Avalos has the latest. Plus, meet a Chicago woman who relives her Olympic moment nearly 20 years ago.
Today's Olympic coverage on NBC5 Chicago is brought to you locally in part by Amoco Ultimate and by Health Writer.
Until now, the idea for every new washing machine has come out of every old washing machine. And you won't find any new ideas until you look into this amazing new GE washer. New ideas like the largest capacity tub you can buy to save up to 75 loads a year, our smoothest, quietest spin cycle, and even an enlarged opening for easy loading. Our new GE washer is the best we've ever made because it's just one good idea after another.
Circuit City's your computer connection with guaranteed low prices and expert advice on the top brand computers you're looking for. Right now, you'll get this color inkjet printer free when you buy any desktop computer. And we'll get you online with 60 free days of net-complete internet service when you buy any computer, courtesy of Netcom. Plus, you'll get a free 8-megabyte RAM upgrade with select top brand computers. There's only one place to go for your new computer. Circuit City, now the official electronics and appliance store of NASCAR.
Channel 5 News makes the commitment to Chicago.
They can put anything in their mouth within a second.
Unit 5 uncovered a risk to children, lead in many Chicago playgrounds.
I think parents of Chicago should be outraged.
Unit 5 got reaction.
Lead and playground equipment was really brought to our attention through your report.
Unit 5 got results.
Where I can't safely remediate it on site, I'm going to have the equipment removed.
Making the commitment, keeping the commitment, the Channel 5 News, committed to Chicago.
So what's up with the rain? Meteorologist Andy Avalos has an answer. Andy?
Well, Mark, the good news is the rains of early this morning have long since subsided. It was a beautiful day, and it's pretty nice out this evening. It is a bit on the cool side, but it looks terrific. Take a look at this. Skywatch 5 Live looks out over the city. Lots of city lights up, but the temperatures are still down. Weather tracker shows it's a cool evening out there. Temperature right now is at 64 degrees, humidity at 84%. Well, the full forecast is upcoming in just a little while after the Olympics. In fact, about 10 minutes into the newscast. Mark?
All right, Andy. And for one Chicagoan, an Olympic dream achieved 28 years ago is now an American dream. In 1968, Barbara Ziba was just 16 years old, competing in Mexico City with the Polish gymnastics team. Now she lives here, living in Chicago, watching American gymnasts make history.
I was surprised this year. I see Team American girls. They just believe me. Each one was great.
And Ziba didn't medal in the 68 Olympics, but she says it was a once-in-a-lifetime event. Join us for the news after the Olympics. Enjoy the game.
This has been a Channel 5 Olympic News Break. Stay tuned for the Channel 5 News after the Olympics.
We spent so much time working on this, getting it going, and it almost fell apart over who was going to buy the paper clips. We kind of learned the hard way that we just both couldn't do everything.
She works on products, new sauces, and I sell.
We're in over 200 restaurants now.
The big decisions we make together.
That's why you have a partner. If I'm laying awake at night, I want to know someone else is too.
It's your life's work. Does your bank understand that?
Thank you for calling the Scudder Fund.
You're speaking with Pam Sheridan. How may I help you?
Hi, Pam. My name is Kathy, and I had a question about your growth and income fund. I heard about it on the radio.
Sure, I'd be happy to help you with that.
If you could explain it in a really simple, basic way, that'd be great.
Well, the growth and income fund is an all-weather fund. We consider it a conservative stock fund. We're looking for those companies that will pay above-average dividends on a regular basis.
I see. And how long has the fund itself been in existence?
No commission, no sales pressure. Talk to us before you invest. Call 1-800-SCUDDER.
There is a girl being born in America, and somebody will tell her she is beautiful, and somebody will tell her she is strong. Somebody will tell her she's precious, and somebody will say she is tough. There's a girl being born in America, and someone will give her a doll, and someone will give her a ball, and then someone will give her a chance.
Prime time from Atlanta, Georgia. These are the Centennial Olympic Games. Once again, Bob Costas.
Well, this is the final night of gymnastics, and it's concluding with a special event. So again, we go over to the Georgia Dome.
John Tesh with Elfie Schlegel and Tim Daggett. We are back in the Georgia Dome for the Gala of Champions, a chance for the champions of gymnastics to have some fun. And here is Svetlana Horkina from Russia. A gold on the uneven bars and a silver team. And you'll never see anybody performing to music on the uneven bars, but you will right here and now.
One of the most unusual bar routines of the games, but then again, innovation is what her gymnastics is all about. Get down, Horkina, get down.
From a Russian Federation.
Now, the compulsory exercises in the Olympic Games is something that the athletes do not like. They loathe them. And so here are the Americans from Dominique Moceanu, Amanda Borden, and J.C. Phelps with a tribute to a lost art. Goodbye to the compulsories on beam.
Within each heart there lies a magic spark that lights the fire of our imagination. And since the dawn of man, strength of just like cat has brought together people of all nations.
Gold medalists, all three, along with their other four teammates. Team America.
Now we take you back to the floor exercise.
Back to floor. Here is Romania's Simona Amanar. A team bronze, in the all-around, gold on the vault, and a silver on the floor. Part of the legacy that Nadia Comaneci built for that country. Simona Amanar, stay with us. We'll be back with more of the Gymnastics Gala of Champions in a moment.
Imagine a world without limits, where anything is possible. AT&T believes communication can help make it happen. Because when people communicate, there's no limit to what they can do.
You didn't have to go in weekends, but you did. You didn't have to drive the team, but you did. You didn't need to volunteer, but you did. When you take pride in what you do, you always do more than you need to. That's how it is at Pennzoil. We didn't have to achieve the tougher GF2 motor oil performance standard ahead of its time, but we did.
Pennzoil, a broadcast sponsor of NBC's coverage of the 1996 Olympic Summer Games.
All right. This is it.
For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down.
That was only the first out of the game.
Make it a Bud Light.
The game's finally over! That's a real beaver?
Are you all right, sir?
Isn't that heavenly?
I don't smell anything.
Precisely. Because Delta is the first U.S. airline to fly totally smoke-free worldwide. So it's clear skies anywhere you go.
Are you hyperventilating?
No, I'm English.
This next routine is for Elfie and I, Tim, because we're leaving you here in Atlanta, and we're going to Athens Thursday through Sunday to cover modern rhythmic gymnastics.
This is world champion Maria Petrova, European champion, 5th at the Barcelona Olympics, and she is one of the favorites for gold here in Atlanta.
Maria Petrova.
This was her best event, and if she performs like this, John, she'll be hard to beat.
Next up on parallel bars will be American Jair Lynch. Jair? Olympic silver medalist. For Jair Lynch, just getting to last night's event finals was a painful experience. But once he embraced the parallel bars, the pain quickly vanished and the performance was near perfect. He knew it, the crowd knew it. And for a moment, we all thought Lynch would strike gold with that performance. But when the score came up, He had missed becoming Olympic champion by 12/1000ths of a point. Silver will do nicely. Thank you. Jair Lynch graduated from Stanford with a double major in civil engineering and urban design. His designs on P-bars.
And John, he did such a fantastic routine last night in the individual event finals. The culmination of a career, the best I've ever seen him do. Could have easily have gone his way, and he could have had a gold medal.
Jair Lynch. Over on pommel horse is a guy who has already stolen the show once here at the Gala. Alexei Nemov. And I didn't know he was such a clown.
Ooh. And a heartthrob. Hey, Elfie's been saying that ever since we got to Atlanta.
Here we go.
Yeah, this guy, he is a character, John. But it's not all show. 10. The retuner him, Elfie.
Easy, Alexei Nemov. We're going to take a break. We'll be back a bit later with more of the champions of gymnastics.
You know, I think this Alexei Nemov is just getting too zany. Basketball next. The Dreamers in the quarterfinals against Brazil and the greatest scoring machine in Olympic history, Oscar Schmidt. Here's a guy who's never met a shot he didn't like. But we'll also have more gymnastics and the women's springboard diving when we come back.
It's our opinion at Acura that a luxury car should be quiet. It should cradle its occupants in astonishingly soft leather and burled walnut. And with a 3.5-liter power plant, it should be anything but a Sunday drive in the park. Introducing the Acura RL, the new flagship from Acura.
Hit 714 home runs. But you know, he also struck out 1,330 times.
Cotton, the fabric of our lives.
This is cotton.
Ordinary sandwiches.
Ooh, what a thing. I love this.
And then there are extraordinary sandwiches made with the rich, creamy, unmistakable taste of Hellman's real mayonnaise.
Dance, Grandma.
Now that Brooke Shields is getting a show on Must See TV Thursday, NBC's giving her a new look to fit in.
Ta-da! The Rachel.
No.
The Clooney.
Get me a 5cc EpiIV push and an EKG stat. Nah.
The Costanza.
Brooke Shields is Suddenly Susan, Thursdays this fall on NBC.
I like it.
We welcome you to the Georgia Dome in downtown Atlanta. Marv Albert, Matthew Cassand, and Bill Walton. This is a quarterfinal matchup between the United States and
Brazil. The U.S. getting off to a slow start in the first half, but finished strong. Oscar Schmidt has been the weapon for Brazil. 21 points, 3 3-pointers. United States doing it in the fast break category. The high point man for the U.S., Scottie Pippen, with 11. The U.S. will go on to face Australia on Thursday following the victory here tonight. That'll be the semifinal game. Karl Malone is fouled by Jorge. Australia, the upset winner over Croatia earlier this evening. Brazil coming in 2 up, 3 down in Olympic competition, and the United States on its way to making it a record 6-0 as we watch Karl Malone at the free throw line.
Well, the first half, Brazil came out and executed the game plan that they wanted, which was play a slow tempo, rely on some three-point shooting, which they got from Oscar Schmidt, and inexplicably, with 5 minutes to go in the first half, and Brazil only down 6, Oscar went to the bench, and with 2 minutes to go in the half, came back, and Brazil was down by 17 with the wheels really flying off.
But the United States has really turned it up here in the second half. The ball movement has been terrific. Shaq has been getting lost. Nice hookups with Gary Payton. Reggie Miller has found the range. Lenny Wilson. These are going so well. Lenny has decided for a little while.
I know he's been pacing the sideline throughout as the U.S. has shot 66% for the night, 29 of 44. They have their biggest lead, a margin of 26 points. Fonseca, the point guard. And this is Schmidt with the quick release. Yes, a 3 for the 38-year-old Oscar Schmidt, the all-time leading scorer in Olympic basketball history. Fonseca off the steal, and the U.S. now leads 71-50.
Well, the glove got gloved by the little rat as Payton got picked.
And Manucci on the steal of that one-bounce lead.
This is a good Brazilian basketball team. They're a solid rebounding unit. They shoot the ball well. They don't turn it over very much, but they give up so much size and strength to guys like Shaq and Karl Malone inside.
And quickness, or lack thereof.
Well, Oscar Schmidt has really had to work for everything he has gotten because Scottie Pippen has put the blinders on in defending him here. The switch, and Reggie Miller got out there just a tad too late, and actually Schmidt does not need much time.
Well, that's an alley-oop that did not work, but Viana able to step back and hit. And a little run put together here by Brazil. They now trail 71-52. Gary Payton at the point guard in the backcourt with Reggie Miller. Shaquille O'Neal on the alley-oop. Sporting it down with the left hand, and the United States now leads 73-52. So that puts it into a 7-0 run by Brazil.
Perfect execution and communication, Payton to Shaq. But now, Matt, I know you didn't get the beach volleyball assignment, but
one I haven't vying for also.
I haven't seen every single one of these games. Why is it that the weak side rotation on defense is so poor in international basketball?
Well, first of all, Bill, I did watch every minute of beach volleyball and enjoyed it immensely.
Absolutely.
So many things are lacking with these international teams, and